Yeah.
Festive, very festive.
All right. Well, good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting for the City of Lakeport for December 2nd, 2025. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Matina. Here. Councilmember Barnett.
Here.
Councilmember Price.
Here.
Pro Tem Disney.
Here.
And Mayor Costa.
Here. Next, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Officer Freitas, would you lead us in the pledge? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So next we have the acceptance of the agenda and urgency items. Do we have any urgency items?
No urgency items, but
Madam Mayor, if you would, staff is recommending that we reorder a couple of the agenda items, given we likely have a number of folks in the audience for the three lease agreements and some folks here looking for the nominations on LEDAC. We're requesting that you guys move council business item A, the water and sewer master plan, to the end of the agenda, and start with B and C and move down from there. So that's fine with everybody, and we can just accept the agenda as modified.
I suppose.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as modified.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? None. Good. That's what we're doing. So next up is the consent agenda. Was that it for the urgency items and anything on the agenda?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So consent agenda, the following consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the council at one time without any discussion. Any council member may request that any item be removed from the consent agenda for discussion under the regular agenda. Removed items will be considered following the consent calendar portion of this agenda. I will read out the consent agenda items. A, waive reading except by title of any ordinances under consideration at this meeting for either introduction or passage per Government Code Section 36934. B, approve the minutes of the City Council regular meeting of November 18, 2025. C, direct the city clerk to prepare the 2026 Maddie Act appointments list and post at City Hall and Lakeport Public Library. D, receive and file from the Lakeport Fire Protection District the 2024-25 Annual Measure M report. E, adopt the resolution accepting construction of the Martin and Lakeshore repaving project by Gelati Construction Company and authorize the filing of the notice of completion. Do any council members wish to pull any of those items? Okay. Do we have any comments from the public? Any public comment on any of those items? No one in the room. How about online?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Thank you. So with that, can we get a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And none opposed. Motion carries. So now we're at the public presentation portion of our meeting, and this is for non-agenda items. This is a time when any person may speak briefly about any subject within the authority of the City Council, provided that the subject is not already on tonight's agenda. Per Government Code Section 54954.3a, the City Council cannot take action or express a consensus of approval or disapproval on any public comments regarding matters which do not appear on the printed agenda. There will be time, obviously, for the agenda items for your comments as well. But for any other items, now's the time when we will invite you to come and share your thoughts. Does anybody in the room have something they'd like to come and speak about?
Madam Mayor, if I want to mention something on someone's behalf, like a constituent's behalf, would you like me to not be on the dais?
I think that's not proper, so let's check here.
It's basically a fundraiser or like
Well,
a,
hold up. Let's find out what the proper.
Your agenda doesn't say that they can't delegate their time to someone else or speak on someone's behalf. I think you can. Typically, I think the procedure would be you would stand at the dais as a member of the public would.
Sure.
And say you're speaking on behalf, in your capacity as a private citizen.
Okay.
cool, thank you, Mackenzie.
Hello, state your name for the record.
Hi, my name's Christina Price, resident of Lakeport, longtime resident. Thank you for having me. Good evening. I just wanted to take a moment. I was very touched by a local who is putting together a collection of gifts for the senior citizens at the Lakeport Post-Acute Nursing Home. And I personally am taking on, it started as one, and then I said, well, I'll just take three. I'm trying to encourage anybody from the city and our area to help out if you can. They would like, you can get more information, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. You can reach out to me. There's 80 residents at the post-acute center, and we're about halfway through our goal of assigning people with residents, and the last date to receive gifts would be on the 18th. So if you would like more information, reach out to me and I will connect you with all of the people involved. Thank you again. Happy holidays.
Thank you. There any other comments from anyone in the room tonight? And how about online?
No hands raised.
All right, thank you. So we will close the public presentation portion and go on to another presentation, the introduction of new police officer Kimberly Searcy.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Honor Council. I am here so soon after my last employee introduction to introduce your newest police officer, Kimberly Searcy. Kimberly grew up in Red Bluff with her 7 siblings, 5 sisters and 2 brothers. That she says that experience shaped her strong sense of family, responsibility, and resiliency, and I'm sure that it did.
Tucking her skin, probably, yeah.
She's an avid hunter and outdoor enthusiast, including riding dirt bikes, and values time spent with her 2 dogs, and I'm also assuming your significant other, who is a traveling journeyman lineman assigned to the Lake and Mendocino County area. She's pursuing her education in criminal justice and criminology, and is focused on building a meaningful career where she can make a positive impact on both the people around her and the system that she hopes to serve. I've had a number of conversations, pretty deep conversations with Kimberly about this job and about this job here in Lakeport. I believe all those things to be true from that conversation. I hope that she is here in our community for a long time after I have gone. And do everything.
Slow down.
Wow.
We'll do everything we can do to give her those tools and work together to make that happen. So, your newest police officer. Kim.
Yay.
Having me.
Thank you for being here.
You covered it.
That's exciting. Nice. Okay, we're on to the public hearings portion. And our first item is to introduce the draft ordinance amending section 15.04.010 of the Lakeport Municipal Code and set a second hearing for December 16, 2025. I believe this was this Community Development Director Hanowitz.
Yes, it was. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. So the city council is being asked tonight to conduct a public hearing for the consideration of amending section 15.04.010 of chapter 15.04 construction codes of title 15 buildings and construction of the Lakeport Municipal Code to adopt and incorporate by reference the 2025 California Building Standards Code. This is a requirement of California jurisdictions every 3 years. So it is kind of a ministerial approval process here. We are adopting the codes as provided through the state building code, and we don't have any amendments of our own. Some jurisdictions do potentially have some specific amendments, but we don't have any of those, so we're adopting it as is. And the code will go into effect on January 1st, 2026, and it's separated into multiple parts, which will be shown there in the staff report. I won't go over each one of those. But some of those include electrical code, mechanical code, green building code, stuff like that. This year, one of the new things is there's a standalone code for the California Wildland Urban Interface Code, along with the California Fire Code that has been in there in previous editions. So this code will incorporate these new codes into our Lakeport City Code. And just kind of a high-level summary of some of the significant 2025 code updates. That doesn't introduce expanded electrification requirements, enhanced energy efficiency and EV infrastructure provisions, updated CalGreen sustainability measures, and updated structural, fire and life safety, mechanical and plumbing system requirements, in addition to some various clarifications and administrative updates. This reflects California's statewide goals for decarbonization, resilience, and just general modernizing of building systems. So with that, I would just ask that the city council conduct a public hearing and schedule the second reading for adoption on 12/16 here in a couple of weeks. And I'm available for any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Questions from council?
I have just one, and I think you kind of answered it at the beginning, Joey, is that this is kind of handed to us. We can't say, we don't want to apply that building code to the city of Lakeport. I'm assuming we can make things more strict, but you can't do anything to make it less.
You answered your question.
And that's what I assumed, but I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
I'll add too on that note. So Joey and I were talking with Bethany Moss, our building official, earlier today in regards to it. I mean, we really just got our first glimpse of these codes in September of this year. So we're still digesting these as well. So any of these major provisions that are coming in, we'll probably likely look at doing some further council workshops on it. The biggest one I see is some of the Zone 0 implementation requirement pieces. We'll get some more public information. We're still waiting for some additional state guidance on how they want to implement that with existing construction. So there'll be more to come. But on that note, it seems like there are some options that if we wanted to, take different routes, but generally, as you said, they usually have to be more strict and as opposed to something that's less. But we'll probably have some more reports on those. I think she said energy efficiency also seemed to have some larger changes in it as well. But the biggest one I think that alerted us is that the Zone 0 implementation requirements.
Thank you.
Just the sheer, in the form of a question, how many pages of code do you think this represents, a new code?
Probably hundreds or thousands of pages. I don't really know for sure, to be honest with you.
It takes a full shelf with the various volumes.
Okay, any other questions from council? Members of the public, any comment or questions? Come on up. Oh.
Are we opening the public hearing at this time?
Are we?
Oh,
We are opening, are we not?
Yep. If you want to.
So
We open
I
it.
should just make that statement. I am open the public hearing. Thank you so much. Nice to see you, Nancy.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. My question is, will the new building code affect applications that are already in for a permit?
Generally, anything that is submitted prior to the implementation of this, which would be December 31st of this year, would be subject to the previous code. So beginning January 1st, things would be subject to the new code. So if you have something in currently or deemed complete at that time, they wouldn't be subject to.
Okay.
They'd be still subject to the current code, which is 2022,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to comment or question? I don't see anyone in the room. Do we have anyone online?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, then we'll bring it back to the council for further comment or discussion. Or a motion.
Madam Mayor, if there's nothing further, I'll move to introduce the draft ordinance amending section 15.04.010 of the Lakeport Municipal Code and set a second reading for December 16th, 2025.
Motion and some seconds, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. So looks like we're ready for council business, and this is the part of the agenda that we shifted just a little bit. So we'll begin with the Lakeport Economic Development Advisory Committee, or LEDAC, the appointments and reorganization. This item is to appoint 3 individuals to fill 3 at-large vacancies on the Lakeport Economic Development Advisory Committee, effective January 1, 2026, and expiring December 31st, 2027. And secondly, to adopt a resolution reorganizing the Lakeport Economic Development Advisory Committee to add 3 designated voting member seats. This is Kelly Buendia, correct?
Yes, not a whole lot to add to that. This is a pretty straightforward item. LEDAC, of course, is the committee that advises the city council on economic development strategies and business outreach initiatives, and so on to help Lakeport's economic vitality. We have 12 voting members currently on the committee, and 5 of those are standing partner agent seats. So they assign, so we have the Lakeport Main Street Association, the Chamber of Commerce, Mendocino College, Workforce Development, and Center Lakeside. So those are the 5 that will send someone to sit on the board. And then the 7 at-large seats, of which we have 3 openings. 2 existing committee members have reapplied, which are Pam Harpster and Lizette Hayes. And then we also received an additional application from Victoria Pulido. And staff is recommending appointment of all 3. And they are all here if you wish to meet them or ask them questions. So that is the first item on this staff report. The second item is that staff and I believe the LEDAC board are recommending the addition of 3 more standing seats. The first would be for the 49th District Agricultural Association, aka the Lake County Fair. And then both the Big Valley Band and Scotts Valley Band of Pomo Indians. So it's a 2-parter. And it's up to the council's discretion how you'd like to proceed from here forward.
Very good. So I'm thinking, I guess we should start with questions from council. I'm thinking somewhere in there it might be appropriate to have the applicants come forward, but so I'm not sure as to
Yeah, I think invite
Process
the
right now.
applicants.
start with the applicant.
Yeah.
You like that?
Mhm.
Okay, we asked ourselves a question and we answered a question. And we would like to, we have 3 what appear to be qualified applicants, and we would love for 3 vacancies. So that's a nice fit. We would just love to invite you each to come up and say anything you'd like to say that you'd like the council to hear from you tonight. Well,
First, Pam.
yeah. Yeah, decide amongst yourselves.
Good evening, folks. How are you?
Hi, good, Pam.
Good to see you all. And you do look sparkly. You really do. Did you have questions
No,
or did you
I
want
think-
me to boldly go forward?
Well, I don't know if council has questions. I have
No.
questions. I think we were just interested in hearing, any thoughts you'd like to share about the appointment, your
Sure.
experience on LEDAC.
Okay, I think I'm probably one of the first people that was not a city council, employee to actually join besides Wilda. But I've enjoyed the last couple of years actually seeing a turn and a little bit of a change, and I'm embracing those changes and those new directions. Kevin's been instrumental in actually educating us now about some of these different challenges that are actually posed to new businesses coming in, and as we go about doing the business walks, we're learning even more about the challenges of our existing businesses. So not just the ones that we're running ourselves, but those that are actually representative of our city. And so I'm enjoying that. I would love to see more opportunity to bring in more businesses into Lake County. As you know, I've got almost 30 years or so of workforce development, economic development background. And so, you can't have workforce development without the economic development because somebody has to pay them and to keep the motor running. And so that's really been a thrust of my most concern and my care.
Nice. Well, we appreciate the work you've been doing up to this point, and we appreciate your willingness to continue that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from?
No, thanks, Pam. Glad you reapplied.
I'm sorry. Say
Thank
again.
you. Glad you reapplied.
Thank you. Awesome.
All
I was
right.
talking at the same time.
Oh,
Next up.
Can you hear me?
yes.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm Lizette Hayes. I am the Senior Medical Staff Services Director for Adventist Health for the North Coast Network. I actually have been involved with LEDAC for the last year, and it's been an honor to be serving in the committee. I actually enjoyed being part learning of our city as well. I definitely enjoyed our business walk this year. A chance to meet and talk to our businesses in the community and just kind of get to know them. I think that was very helpful for me. My partner Joey, thank you for that. So I would like to continue serving in the committee for another appointment of the next 2 years and continue to bring my expertise and my knowledge and experience to the committee as well. Do you have any questions?
Thanks, Lisette.
We're happy that you want
Great.
to continue on. Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Yes, thank
All
you.
right. And our new person.
Hi, everybody. My name is Victoria Polito. I currently work with Workforce Alliance of the North Bay as a senior analyst, but also grant manager of our special grant that we have here. It's a housing and community development grant. We are running the fire program with Terra. So I am really boosting that grant over the next 2 years, but I saw this opportunity as a huge way for us to be involved, and also myself, I'm a Lake County resident. Actually had my first interview in this building for my job at Career Point, but just really giving back to the community, but also bringing our services and all of the reports and resources that we have for businesses, job seekers, really trying to, allow those to be accessible more than they already are. So I look forward to working with everybody and also just really bridging more services to the community.
Great. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So procedurally, should we take the motions separately then?
Take public comment first.
Oh, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Public comment on,
Can we specify, it's for both resolutions or just one at a time?
how about public comment on the proposed appointments that have been discussed so far? One in the room? How about online?
No hands raised.
Okay, so we'll bring it back to council for further discussion or motion on the 3 appointments.
Can I do one motion for all 3?
So,
Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint Lizette Hayes, Pam Harpster, Victoria Polito to serve on LEDAC effective January 1st, 2026, expiring December 31st, 2027.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Congratulations. So on to the second part of this item, the resolution reorganizing the Lakeport LEDAC to add 3 designated voting member spots. Do we have questions from council on that? Do we have comments from the public on that? No one in the room. How about online?
No hands raised on Zoom.
All right, we'll bring it back for that, for discussion or comments from the council.
Well, when I saw that, the fair is a big part of Lake County over the years, and it's a big property, and a lot of people don't realize it's not even owned by the city. And when I saw that on there and the opportunities that could be there, and I mean, people are out there all the time at various different buildings doing various events. I thought that was a good move, and it's probably long overdue, but I think any conversation you have about economic development, they should at least be at the table. And so I thought that was brilliant. When I saw that, I go, that's great. And then as far as the tribes go, I think that's what we can see around us. Some of the bright spots are usually brought forth by the tribes. And so when I saw those 3 things, I thought that was a really brilliant move. So I have to give the LEDAC board credit for coming up with that, because getting different perspectives from different people and then having a place where a lot of things can go on that maybe can help potentiate some kind of economic development. I think all of those moves were very good, and I'm very much in favor of that.
Great. Any other comments? I think that was well said.
So if there's nothing further, Madam Mayor, I'll move to adopt a resolution adding 3 designated member seats to the Lakeport Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. So next up, the items from the city manager, the first of which is to approve the license agreement with Westside Community Park for the construction, operation, and maintenance of the Westside Community Trail Park on designated portions of the city property, and to authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I begin specifically on this one, I just want to kind of, these next 3 items are sort of all tied together, and I think that they really reflect, kind of some wonderful partnerships in our community, and these are really exciting opportunities that are furthering some of the citywide goals that we're not capable to do internally on ourselves, on staff. And I think, having these partnerships are going to, further, offer a very wide variety of different pieces, parks and recreation, as we'll see in this first one, an education center, in reuse of the Carnegie Building, and, getting the community center up and running, in the fashion that we kind of envisioned when we first took over that building. So with that, we'll start here on this first item in regards to the license agreement with Westside Community Park. Westside Community Park Committee has been one of the city's most trusted and successful community partners for decades. Their volunteer-driven model has delivered recreation facilities for our community that have further advanced. So, I mean, for those, I know that you've heard from them in the past, but just quickly, I mean, we have a partnership existing already with Westside Community Park, where they operate and manage Phase 2 of the Westside Community Park, the softball fields and soccer fields there that make up those areas. That is a huge piece. That's a great offering to our community that we would probably not otherwise be able to do. For the past several years, they've been working very closely with other entities, including local equestrian groups and hiking folks. Early on in the master planning of the Westside Community Park, it was identified the need for some trails and equestrian uses. We did, your council, probably 7 or 8 years ago now, did kind of identify that trying to push those uses into the Phase 3 20-acre parcel probably would create some, some land use conflicts that may not be appropriate for that site. And we did identify that maybe a more appropriate location would be out at our wastewater treatment facility. There's hundreds of acres there that provide some greater prospects for the development of equestrian center and hiking trails. And so that's what's before you this evening is Westside Community Park is proposing a license agreement to help develop some trail uses out at this site, both equestrian, hiking, and mountain biking. So a wide variety of uses there. As you'll recall, a few years ago, the Westside Community Park was applying for a Prop 68 grant, the same great grant program that we got the Houghton Park from. We did kind of put some term sheet together there to accompany their grant application for an equestrian center. That's kind of the area that's kind of outlined in purple. It's approximately 7 to 12 acres there. They were unsuccessful in getting those grant funds to develop that equestrian center. They have regrouped and decided that probably the quickest and greatest kind of community benefit would be to focus on the development of a trails park. And they haven't left aside their desire to develop a further equestrian center there. So what you're seeing kind of in that blue hashed area is the hillside outside of use from our wastewater treatment facility uses. They have kind of scouted that area with the help of our former GIS dude, Mel, did some preliminary mapping of some trails out in that area and are looking to develop this agreement with the city to kind of provide those services. It is important to note that these properties, although owned by the city, are outside of the city limits boundary, which is noted there in the red, the city limits there. So these are under the jurisdiction of the unincorporated area of the county. So what we're looking here is to get this lease agreement in place, and then they will begin their entitlement process for the development of this trails park with the county. And that's why you're seeing the lease agreement kind of reflecting a begin date there of June of this upcoming year. We have been meeting, and the city will certainly continue to work with the Westside Community Park and the County of Lake in regards to getting those entitlements in place. They've had some preliminary conversations with the county and going forward there. So I think just really quickly, some of the key aspects of the agreement. It's a 30-year license agreement. We've been very clear that the primary use of this site is for wastewater facility treatment. So if for any reason it does become necessary that we have to expand those fields, they are aware that some trails may have to be abandoned to do that. The likelihood of that being done for most of this is not very high. Most of this is a hillside area there that would have some significant costs to doing so. But at the same time, that the primary purpose of this land is that wastewater, and that does not change with this agreement. Westside Community Park is going to be fully responsible for the cost of design and construction and maintenance and repairs. As I noted before, it's intended to be a multi-use trail park, equestrian, hiking, and mountain biking. It's possible that the trails might be limited to certain uses, but it will be an open area for all those groups to kind of develop trails there. But there are some areas there that you want to be careful on how you're matching mountain bikes and equestrian uses on those. So those will be there. We've been very clear that we don't have the capacity to police those things. So signage and other things are going to be very important to those provisions. And I think this is going to be, one of those things that will start with a couple trails, and it's just, hopefully will grow over time and become a wonderful community asset in addition. The public access will be through the already improved encroachment that exists to serve that equestrian area there, right off of Highway 175, kind of near the intersection with Matthews Road. It'll provide access to a parking area, and then there'll be kind of a walking trail there to the trailhead that goes on that site. Westside Community Park will be responsible for new fencing there to separate the cattle lease area there, but the city will be maintaining, the city together with the cattle lease grantee will be maintaining some of the existing fence area there, so to keep those conflicts between those areas. Beyond that, I think, the staff report does kind of provide some overview in regards to how this does include, meeting multiple citywide goals. I did some scouring of the 2008, 2011, 2012 West Side Community Park Master Plans. It's really great to see this was something that's been envisioned pretty much from day one with the inception of the West Side Community Park. And even when it kind of seemed like it wasn't something that was going to fit there at the West Side Community Park, it was West Side Community Park Committee has been great in finding an additional location for this, and we're glad to partner with them. I will state, Mackenzie and I were doing some research on this, and so we're asking this evening to take public comment. You'll get the council's direction in regards to whether or not they agree with the lease terms. However, we are going to ask that you hold on approving it. We do, we need to do a little bit additional research in regards to who the physical owner is, whether that's the city of Lakeport or the City of Lakeport Municipal Sewer District. Even though you are the board of both, that would have to be in the agenda there that you're serving in that capacity. It's a quick fix that we can make, and it would be our anticipation we get this back at your next regular meeting for your approval. But that was kind of a late breaking one that we're going to have to do a little bit of research there, make sure that we get that right. It's possible that some of them are owned by the City of Lakeport and some of them are owned by the district. So we just want to make sure that we have that all sorted out. So certainly able to ask any questions. And I do apologize. I was not able to bring that information to the attention of Dennis. So I'm sure he's probably shaking his head going, what? But that would really, there's no reason why we would not have that back in front of you guys by the next meeting.
Good. Very good. Questions from council?
Yeah, well, so the one thing that I looked at and it was like, kind of hit me in the face. It says the city will not provide labor or financial support for any portion of trail development or maintenance. And I was like, that just seemed kind of harsh. I know Dennis is a very can-do guy and has connections everywhere and hornswoggles people into doing all kinds of stuff. I just was curious because we do things for public benefit. I mean, we built the park and if they needed something, like, could you bring over the grader or can you do that? It's like, no, and we can't do that. Is this like a legal thing that is, because this is supposed to be a public park and it's like the city is not, it's under trail construction and maintenance. I just thought that seemed a little harsh to me. Like, don't ask us, we can't do anything for you.
That's the one thing that stood out to me too.
Yeah, I just
So
felt
funny.
like, wow, Dennis, we love you, but screw yourself.
You're on your own.
That was one thing that just really hit me. I was like, wow.
So that's the question. Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I would just probably note that these baseline terms in the license agreement itself, that doesn't mean that on an ad hoc basis, a request could be made and something can be negotiated and decided upon. But as a starting point for this license, we would not want to bind the city's hands or the district's hands, as we'll find out. So that's more just a starting place to clarify the roles, not necessarily a ceiling on any future involvement.
Thank you. I feel better.
So in other words, there will never be understood to be an obligation by the city or the district to do these things. And yet there is freedom to talk about whether or not such things could be done on a case by case basis. Yeah.
But just not with a phone call.
To formalize it, yes.
Any other questions?
So we're taking no action then.
We still want public comment and such, yes. So any comments or questions from the public?
Good evening. As you may know, I'm Dennis Rollins. And when I went to silence my phone, I saw I missed a call from Kevin at 5:30. I was. Really, I want to thank some people and then I'd answer any questions that you have. But, I'm the face of the park, but the driving force behind the horse, now maybe trail park, has been Dana Adams. She's organized a group of folks that have gone out and she's been assisted by Carol Maxwell, who's a longtime member of our board of directors, to go out and lay out the the trails on the hillside. Carol, she's probably been out there 10 times hiking on the hill. And Dana has just been great at getting people to go out and keeping the ball rolling. So they really deserve a lot of credit for this. I'm just the face of the group. And then I want to thank the city staff. Kevin and Paul and Mel, before he departed, have been really helpful. We really appreciate the support that they're giving us. And when we met with your land use subcommittee, the enthusiasm that you expressed was very much appreciated. So we're really looking forward to doing this. We feel we can pull this off. There's only one issue that we have, which I'm sure can't be addressed by the city, but if we can't do this, it's going to be because of insurance. We've been negotiating with our insurance company to allow us to go out and work on the fields, on the trails. When we first went out there, they said, oh, we'll charge you $180 on top of the premium that you already pay for the West Side Community Park, which is about $1,200 a year. And another $180, people could go out and walk around and lay out trails. And then when we said we were going to start construction, they sent me a 20-page questionnaire, 20-question questionnaire to fill out, and then sent a premium back of over $5,000 a year to work out there to be able to create the trails. So we're going to see if we can't make some changes to what we told them we would do to see if we can't get that down, because that's a lot of money by our little budget. And then at that point, they still haven't agreed that they would insure the trail usage once it is completed. They
Better find that out.
All right. They have said that, we will review individual events. So if I said insurance could kill us, but if it isn't for that, this will happen. We've got people that are really interested in doing it. And that's all I had to say, except thank you, Councilperson Parlett. I appreciate it.
Well, I have I guess a question for the city manager and the assistant city attorney based off that. So would the question of insurance have any interplay on our action? Like, would we need to know that there would be the ability to come forward with insurance before we went forward with this agreement? Or is it just because if there is no insurance and it can't happen, then what happens to the agreement that the 30-year agreement that we've locked into?
Yeah, there are provisions within the license agreement that do outline the requirement for insurance and the need to provide that to the city and have it on file, provide us with the annual renewals and such as a provision of keeping the license agreement active. But we certainly will can work with them. And I agree when Dennis told me, I mean, they're already operating phase 2, which includes a number of high uses, youth activities, public use and stuff. And so I'm hopeful. And if there's any assistance that we need to provide in there to, provide a letter or clarify the intended uses, that we can assist them in finding that. Because I'm not an insurance agent by any stretch of the imagination, but the use, I would tend to believe that the first answer that Dennis got in regards to expanding the uses is hopefully the correct one, and not the second answers that he's receiving regarding the astronomical upkeep there just for the trail park. So we'll continue to work with them, but the license agreement would certainly require the insurance as a to keep it active.
Well, we're just going to keep our fingers crossed on that one. Any other questions from council?
Yeah, well, first I just wanted to say how grateful I am to the West Side Committee for managing the creation of these parks. I mean, they're such a huge asset to the city, and this park, these trails are going to be amazing. The views up there are absolutely gorgeous. It's just really, really exciting. So I'm just going to be optimistic that we're going to get through the insurance part of it. I was looking at the name, the West Side Community Trail Park, and I was wondering if there was any like further discussion about the name of the park. And it might be a little confusing to call it that. I'm looking at Dennis. I'm wondering if we could call it the Lakeport Community Trails Park and Equestrian Center, with big goals in mind that this will keep growing. And that it's clear that it's in Lakeport, it's not at West Side Park. Eliminate that confusion and make it stand out that it is going to be for everyone and everything out there.
Yeah, I don't know that we're heavily invested in the name. In fact, the name we were using when we first started this, before talking to the city about other forms of trails, was the West Side Community Horse Park. So,
Okay.
the West Side Community Trail Park is a new name that I don't think anybody has any problem with. We did think that tying it in with the West Side Community Park let people know that it was all sort of one thing, but I can see where your concern might be that somebody drives over to the soccer field with their horse.
Might think
Confusing, and we want credit for it.
Or might
We're
think that
going
they
to have
can
this great trail system and equestrian center in Lakeport.
I
And
don't think that the committee would have any particular problem with that, although I'm only one, but
yeah. All right. Well,
okay. We'll have that. We'll discuss
have that discussion. Thank you. Thanks for the hard work.
Welcome.
And so just to be clear where we're at in our process, so we had questions, we opened it up to public comment, and we had questions on some of the public comment, and so we're still in public comment. Do we have anybody else in the room who wants to speak on this issue? And anyone online?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, so I think now we're ready to come back for any further comments or discussion from council or
I would say just a
it's-
comment.
okay, great. And then I think we don't have motion. This is, okay, thank you so much. Go ahead.
So I was really appreciative with Dennis and everybody presenting to the City Lands ad hoc group. They showed pictures from the top of the mountain. I mean, I can't think of very many other spots in Lakeport with a view like you get on this trail. So I wish we had those pictures. They might be with Mel, but it was amazing. And I'm really excited to have this come back next meeting.
And just another comment, I do appreciate Councilmember Matina bringing up a different switch of the name. And maybe we could add, not like powered by West Side Park, but like, some type of affiliation and like a shout out to West Side Park. Because I just think that Lakeport should have a little bit of a part of the name. So a little bit of consideration. We hope to get it to go through. We appreciate you. That's all I got.
Well, I think Dennis just said it when he said that they pull up at West Side Community Park with their horse and they're going around in a circle and they're going, they said it was like right here, West Side Community Park. So I think Councilmember Matina's comment should be well taken. And, I know there's so much work to be done. It's kind of like when we talked about our vision statement, it's been on the, masthead for, 40 years and they go, well, can we change this? I think it's one of those things that could maybe evolve now that we've had a little bit more conversation. But it's one of those things where we got so much to do. We got the trails, we got to get insurance, we got all this stuff. And so what about the name? Okay, well, let's just throw a name out there. I can't imagine that you just sat in a meeting and talked about all the attributes and benefits of certain names and, attributing it to Lakeport and confusing it with with West Side Community Park. So I just think that that's something that Dennis could take back and just say, this is the kind of comments we got, because your example was golden, Imagine the husband and wife and the kids come up with 3 or 4 horses and they're all in there and there's soccer going on and they're going, man, I don't think we're going to get out now that we got in.
Yeah, I think it's very exciting, and it goes, things happen slowly, right? But then they come together little by little, and this kind of connects with even the Lake County Recreation Authority, the vision that's there, to expand trails and other recreational opportunities, but realizing that trails are a good, accessible way to kind of really help, start some of that ball rolling. And in this case, that would hopefully continue with the equestrian center and such. But we've got such beautiful areas and for our own residents to enjoy, but also to help bring in people to enjoy our area from other places. I think it's just really exciting and a great use of the land that's available. So I think we're all looking forward to that. And we'll bring it back next time then, yeah?
Yeah, and I'll just add in regards to Brandon's comment there. Yeah, we can certainly bring some pictures back of it because I think it does do it justice. I mean, anybody, you see the land that's sitting there as you're passing on 175. It's very clear to see the kind of pasture land there and not realize that our property goes almost all the way up to the ridge top there. So at night when you're looking out and you see the red light blinking out there, associated for planes taking on and off at Lamson Field, that essentially is the top of our property. So there are hundreds of acres out there that are there. And I also, I think it's, very want to Westside Community Park and the whole team there, as we learned at our Cal Cities conference, that stick-to-itiveness is it's a real word. And they didn't get discouraged. They put a lot of effort and work into that grant application that they didn't get, but they kind of pivoted from there and, wanted to, get something to show and that they've been a very good cooperative here, talking, we've been very, forward that we want to see something that's going to be open to a wide variety of users. They've adopted that, quite a bit, and we're very happy to have them as a partner.
Thanks. Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
In relation to the grant application, Carol Maxwell really spearheaded that for us. And we got the denial letter and we were asking for $300,000 and they had their 5 million or 3 million, whatever they had, and they had 10 times the number of applicants.
Yeah.
Requests as probably like when the city applied.
Mm.
And they said, you can call and find out, why you were denied. And Carol called and spoke to the person that was head of reviewing it and said that your application was great. The only reason that you really didn't get funded was because the focus of your group was so small. It wasn't like a city park that was going to accommodate everybody. And so she was very encouraging with what we'd submitted. So we'll keep looking.
Yeah.
Good deal. Thanks. Okay, with that, we can move on to the next item. It's to approve the lease agreement with the Clear Lake Environmental Research Center, or CLERC, extending their use of the Carnegie Library for operation of the water and wastewater testing laboratory and authorizing development and public operation of the Environmental Education Center on the second floor and grant the city manager authority to enter into and execute the agreement.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as noted, this is the second of our three exciting community partnerships. But first, before we talk about Clerk, the Carnegie Library itself is one of Lakeport's most iconic historic assets. It's on the Historic National Registry. It sits in a very prominent point within our community, kind of a central linkage between our lakefront and the downtown area. Over the past decade, the city has invested heavily in trying to get this building back up to where it could be potentially utilized for public use, fixing accessibility issues, adding the elevator, modernizing some of the infrastructure, and getting it back into a spot where we can even bring this concept forward to you this evening. Clerk, the Clear Lake Environmental Resource Center, has been a part of this process along that journey. But beginning in 2021, we did issue the current lease that we have with them for the use of the first floor area for their accredited microbiology lab for testing of water and wastewater, which prior to their existence, you had to, folks like the city of Lakeport had to take their water and wastewater testing out of county. So that's a brand new service that they're providing. They've been providing that service in the basement floor area. This lease agreement would cover both. It would continue to allow that lab to continue down there on the first floor, but then also is expanding to include the second floor area for the purpose of developing an education center, focusing on the lake's history, culture and also a lot of the fire mitigation efforts that are underway with Clerk. So the key elements of this lease agreement include a 3-year term, and in turn for the $1 a month rent, their Clerk would be has some pretty specific public benefit performance requirements in regards to developing that education center and making it open to the public on a regular basis. The agreement does kind of recognize that that doesn't just happen overnight, so it kind of tries to outline some different areas and make some suggestions on kind of events that should be considered, and has some items in there in regards to quarterly reporting, where they can, noting that, in turn for just a $1 lease, that make sure that that public benefit is being provided. And then also included in there is a annual report to your council, which they have been kind of doing sort of de facto anyways throughout their lease period. They've been coming in on a regular basis and talking about their general efforts. So that would kind of be tied into this agreement as well. So I think beyond that, I think this is an item that has come before you in a couple different fashions, and what we've really tried to do is embrace that mission of getting that education center open. I think it's flows really nicely with the original intent of the Carnegie mission of providing that public education access, and ties in really nicely with the lake as its backdrop. I think there's a lot of people who come, even into City Hall and are asking, questions about the lake. And this, I think, is going to be a wonderful opportunity for residents and tourists alike to kind of capture that piece. Beyond that, I think the other key piece is we've left some flexibility in here, because this is going to be a learning experience going forward. Clerk has done some extensive outreach and partnered, and I know that members of Clerk are here today, and they can probably speak to that better than I can. But they're kind of, this is a learn as we go sort of thing, and so we want to make sure that we left some room in this lease to make sure that the public benefit is being represented to us by getting it open to the public, but at the same time, not micromanaging, what kind of uses and pieces are in there, and allow some opportunity for the public to weigh in on what the space actually looks like. So as I said, members of Clerk are here today. They can talk a little bit more specifically about their mission, but goal-wise, included in your staff report, this has been on our list for quite some years to get to the point where we are getting this space open and available to the public, and very excited to be bringing this item forward to you guys for consideration this evening.
Did you anticipate Clerk speaking before questions, or?
That's up to you. I think it would be appropriate. They're here this evening, and they have been warned.
Well, if you'd like to share before we present the specific questions, feel free to come forward and do that.
Hello, everybody. Will Evans, the co-founder and executive director of Clerk. I think I'll keep it kind of short, because I think everyone kind of knows what we're trying to do over in the Carnegie Library. But first, I just got to give a major shout out to Kevin and everybody at the city for being just excellent public servants, and really making an opportunity for us to succeed at what we're good at succeeding at. And a lot of the work that's gone into the lease is really focusing on trying to have us exercise our strengths, and then the city exercise their strengths. So I'm really excited to see where this is going to go. It's a big deal. It's been a long time in the works. So, happy to field any questions. I think a lot of you, we did an open house in August. I think several of you went over there and kind of saw the concept designs, but happy to field any questions that you might have.
Looking over your list of, ecology, watershed, geology, environmental, and taking on the water testing and all that, I love that. But it occurred to me, I remember when Councilmember Matina and I were here, and Verizon was coming in here and said, look at these pictures of these cell towers that we're putting on, 18th, 19th Street. And they go, wait a minute, we're not even sure that we want that. And And we don't like that. And we don't, and the people over there came in droves and said, we don't want a cell tower in our backyard and all that stuff. And they said, you don't get it. You're getting it. You're getting it by law because we have to provide coverage and all that stuff. And I was like blown away. And there was questions about the 1994 limits on EMF. I just wondered if, because it just occurred to me, I had some friends going around with these EMF meters and they're finding they're just off the charts. And it's like, who's measuring this stuff? Would that be ever anything that you would ever think about? Because I mean, we worry about the water we drink and the air we breathe, but when you're getting just blasted by, maybe we are, maybe we're not, by cell towers, is anybody like keeping score and measuring? And if you were a research center, you could say, hey, we went to the courthouse, we went to the shopping center, we went to Sutter, and they're off the charts. And we're a research center, and this is not legal. You've exceeded the limits that you said that we weren't even sure were even good then. Does that even sound like anything that's even remotely in your purview or
Is
in
that like electromagnetic field?
frequencies? Yeah, the cell tower emissions. And
Well, for starters, that's a big, it's more of a public health issue. So that would be medical researchers. We don't do that kind of research.
no, I was just talking about just the actual measurement.
Yeah, probably if.
I mean, like measuring the salinity or the alkalinity or the hardness of water. It's like, it's not like you're chiming in. You're just, oh, we took a measurement and it seems like it's off the charts. It's not like.
There's several partnerships we have. Actually, one of them is the that we run through our lab is the Irrigated Lands Regulatory Program, which our main part of that is data collection, but it's always in the context of a larger network of researchers. And we gather the data and send it up the chain, and then people at universities do more analysis and research with it. So if we were going to engage in something like that, that would probably be the formula for success. It was, we're the boots on the ground here is kind of our paradigm, and then work with, higher powers to do the data crunching and stuff that we don't necessarily have the capacity for it at this level. But the issues are very important to us. And this is actually something with our wildfire mitigation work that, we're out there clearing vegetation, maintaining fuel breaks, and then researchers come to us because, they live in the academic world and they need to see actual reality. So we give them as much data about our projects as we can so that we can hopefully get better regulations about how to stop fires. So, but it takes us all, everybody.
Yeah, well, it was just the idea that it's data collection. I mean, I wouldn't say that, we're doing analysis and then we're going to do impact and we're going to do epidemiological studies, we're going to find out who got sick. No, I was just saying we take these because I know they do the depth of the lake and then they do, turbidity and various things. It just seemed to me that these people are going around unchecked and we never know. People are having headaches for no reason. They got restless leg syndrome is rampant. And personally, I think it could have a lot to do with it. It was just something that crossed my mind. So I just thought that if someone went down to the courthouse and said, oh, this week's EMF was at, 110% of what they allow. And then, the next week, oh, it's 150%. Oh, now it's 90%. It just seemed like who else would ever think of doing that besides some whack job on the dais? Anyway, thank you.
Well, maybe you could, I don't know that.
I'm not taking it on. I just
That's
thought
not where it is,
off.
but it's an interesting project that might need to be formed. Any other questions from council? So I just wanted to clarify in the form of a question, maybe for the city manager. So all upkeep, all the interior maintenance of the building and the exterior maintenance of the building is going to be paid for by clerk, correct?
Not entirely. So the interior, yes. So like the maintenance, kind of those utility systems but the city of Lakeport would be still maintaining the exterior aspects of the building.
Okay.
Will, do you have a card?
I think I do.
Like you want to?
Don't give it to him.
Just say no.
It could be the start of,
This is just right down the street.
start of something beautiful. Okay, any other questions from council?
No questions. Just
Well, we're gonna go to the public. We'll come back for more comment and discussion unless you have landed on a question. Okay. So, for members of the public, any questions or comments? Anyone in the room?
Me again, and I want to remind Mr. Parlett that it took me a year to defeat that damn cell phone tower.
And you did a lot of good work. Thank you.
And it took 10 years off my life, so I'm limping around tonight.
They just moved it. They didn't get rid of it.
Well, anyway, the shopping center and the view from Lakeshore Boulevard, as you come around the corner after a beautiful lake view, you're not looking at a beat up old falling apart artificial Christmas tree like South Santa Rosa has. I guess they still have it. I hate to drive by it down that way and look at it. Anyway, the reason I'm here is I'd like you to put this decision off tonight until you hear comment on the Bank of America building or the Silvera Center. Because for some reason, my old mind was thinking the Silvera Center was first. And I know Kenny and you, Stacy, have heard me say before that Roy Parmentier, who was on the park board with me at the time and then became a city council member and mayor, and I negotiated the key part to the park over a 20-cent cup of coffee at Perco's. So I have a business background, and I think the city should be run like a business. I think you really try. But $1 a square foot, and you've put $400,000 into this building. I'm a landlady, and for office space, I get between $1.55 a square foot per month and $2.72 a square foot per month. I feel like it's a gift of public funds. So maybe you can put this off until after I can give you a presentation on the Bank of America building. And my idea for all three buildings, the Yacht Club, the Bank of America building, and the second floor of the library, that my dream was to have a restaurant up there with a terrace out the back for dining. But that didn't happen because the basement was always flooding. So I'm happy that the state is in the basement. They can have the basement, but let's not give away the second floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from those present in the room? Okay, how about online?
I'm seeing no hands raised.
Okay, we'll bring it back to council for discussion and comment.
Oh, just one comment. It's not $1 a foot. It's $1 a month.
Year.
It's way worse than you said.
Year.
Not worse.
Oh, it is a month.
Cheaper.
I was thinking it was $1 a year, $1 a month. Well, I'll go ahead and say that I feel very excited to have found Clerk and have them a part of this building. When we first started renovating the building, it was, it just seemed so strange. How are we ever going to figure out what possibly to do with it? It's so small, it has so many stairs, you know, we can't just have one restaurant or, you know, but how do we kind of keep with the theme of education and, you know, library, that everybody could use it? So we had many community meetings to talk about it, and the same things came up at every meeting, was that we really want the public to be able to use it and it to be some sort of education center. So this fits everything that we had been striving to meet, and it took forever. And so it's very exciting that we're actually here and making something happen. So I'm excited to hear about the first group of students that get to go in and learn in the center. Very cool.
My comment would be on the three items. I mean, this one specifically, but the theme that we're kind of getting to tonight is taking these safeguarded public spaces that have been closed forever and opening and letting people go into Clerk, which is not something the city can operate right now on their own. So I'm really thankful that we have partners like Clerk, like the West Side Community Park, like the Arts Council that can help do some of the heavy lifting that the city just can't. I mean, you guys know, we hear all the time, why is the Silvera Center closed? Why can nobody go in the Carnegie Library? We need more places to hike. And I like that we're able to give something to the public. It's not a business. As a business owner myself, I mean, it's hard to see, but our role is to help the public. And I think this is the greatest use of that space right now.
I
Eh,
feel,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The thing is, when I saw early pictures of Lakeport, and the only thing on the lakeshore was Carnegie Library, and it was kind of a hideous looking sight there. You know, I think the palm trees were there or where they were coming, and when I looked at all of the things they do, and I couldn't agree more with Stacy. Since I'd been here, I remember when I was a student in the 70s going down to and getting the Reader's Guide to Periodic Literature, which nobody even knows what that is. And down in the basement, and it was a nightmare. And it was always like, well, what are they going to do with that? And then insurance and everything else. And now you have somebody that's coming in there and putting in something that's relevant to the community, something that was relevant right out there to the lake and wildlife. And they're working actively to prevent fires and training people on what we do and how it works. I mean, I just think it's vastly more than just having them there. I think the opportunities can grow endlessly. And when you get kids coming in that want to be, you know, interns and want to do various things, I mean, here we have a place to do it. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And I concur with Councilmember Disney and Matina about, you know, getting people to be able to use the stuff that we've owned. I mean, since we were conceived, you know, 125 years ago, and the first thing there, and use it for studies and for research. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I really do.
My comment to Will and all of your staff, every event in the community that you guys show up at, it just seems like your impact just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I love the collaboration between Clerk and Tara. I feel like next year is going to be your guys' year to really, all that momentum that you guys have been building, it'll be in front of the eyes of the community. And I really feel like there will be a big surge of people who want to get involved and get really behind the information and just nerd out on it with you guys. I did go to the open house event that you guys had. It was a hot day, I remember that. But just to see the ideas and the illustrations and the thought behind your guys' vision was very motivating. And I had heard multiple people say, I've lived here my whole life and I've never been in this building. And that kind of goes back to what you guys have mentioned. I look forward to getting some collaboration with the students. If you need help or connections to the schools, lean on us for that. We would love to get you guys connected. The fact that it's right by the park, there's going to be kids. I would love to see some type of partnership with senior citizens and people who are seasoned in information about the lake and pairing up with the youth and getting them involved. So I'm all for it. I really do appreciate your guys' time and how much effort you guys have put into this and have seen it through. So this is just another piece of your puzzle. So hope that this works out. Thanks.
So my comment is that I've been impressed with the work of Clerk in particular and all of the projects that you become involved in, and they're very relevant to our community, the fire suppression, the work with the lake, et cetera. And so I think that from that standpoint, you're trusted, a trusted entity and a trusted partner. It is different. It isn't the use of the Carnegie in this way isn't revenue producing per se for the city. That's, you know, granted. And I think there is a place for figuring out how the city can make money. That's important. The city needs to bring in revenue. But the city also, I believe, needs to be looking at some other needs of the city and the educational components. And I just think this, the lake is central. Like, what is uniquely ours? Our whole county is about the lake, and our communities, that is the focus of, we can't really get away from it. You know, the lake is where we live. And so I think it's so fitting to have in that spot, in that beautiful historic building, right there on the lake shore, you know, with our the Lakeshore Park and such. It's such a, to me, it seems like a very fitting place to have that educational component about the lake, and not just the lake, but, you know, the other aspects of our environment and the place that we live, to help people understand that, to help people treat it well, to help people become interested in those elements. I think it is, in that sense, a public service and an invitation for community engagement. And I think that's the focus of this action. And this action, it has the potential to be time limited. If this turns out to not turn to be what we are all believing it will be, there is a time where that can be changed in the future. But it seems to me, I feel very positive about this particular opportunity. And the city, while the city needs to make revenue, the city also needs to figure out how to reduce cost and such. So to get a program built without having to invest financially to do that, to have partners to do that for us, I think that has, you could put a price tag on that. That is a gain, you know, that is a financial assistance. So of sorts. So it seems very fitting for me. So I'm in favor of it.
Madam Mayor, if I may. And I just want to also lean on the fact that this is the type of business or nonprofit organization that's going to fill this building, that's going to draw foot traffic. And by all means, the foot traffic, the people that come and check out what you guys have, they're going to make their way up to Main Street. They're going to go and eat at Park Place. You know, they're going to, those people will come, and they will come, and hopefully they will spread out and explore, and that ripple effect will bring revenue in the long run, I hope. So that's a good positive thing to think about too.
So I think we all kind of expect it to be successful, but you know, you never know until you try. So it certainly seems like the thing that is heading in the right direction that we would really like to try.
Madam Mayor, before I make a motion, one other thing I just want to mention is Will and the clerk team has been so great. I mean, the few times that I've called on them, they've always said, oh yeah, we'll help with that. We had the Cal Cities Redwood region. They went out on boats and they said, oh yeah, we'll bring biologists, we'll bring people. They gave us tours of the lake. We hosted a Main Street Association mixer and called up Will and said, hey, it's in the Carnegie Library this time. Can you talk to us? And he said, yeah, I'll be there. And having a partner like that that's just ready to help out is really refreshing. So with that, I would like to make a motion, and I move to approve the lease agreement with the Clear Lake Environmental Research Center, extending their use of the Carnegie Library for operation of the water and wastewater testing laboratory, and authorizing development and public operation of the Environmental Education Center on the second floor, and to grant the city manager authority to enter into and execute the agreement.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank
Okay,
you, Will. Thanks, clerk.
Thanks, guys.
our third in the trilogy from the city manager tonight is to approve the lease agreement with the Lake County Arts Council for the operation of the Lakeport Gallery and coordination of scheduling and event management at the Silvera Community Center, and to authorize the city manager to enter into and execute the agreement.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council, once again. So the Silvera Community Center has undergone some major capital improvements in our time with it when we acquired this originally from Bank of America back in 2018, 2019. So it's been a long road. I think when we initially acquired this building, we were under some general illusions that it would be a little bit more turnkey in getting it, open to this. So it's exciting to get to this point. We were hoping to be at this point, much sooner. With that said, there still does remain many challenges to this building. We're happy now that the timing worked out. We had the foresight there to get the solar system in there when we were doing several other upgrades throughout the city. We were able to, when the propane system and the existing HVAC systems went out, we were able to move those over to electrical and get those to being served off those solar panels. That's a major, a cost reduction overall. However, we ended up having to wait 18 months for, a backlog on getting the right panel to service that building. So that was one of the obstacles we overcame. COVID was right there in the middle of it. The facility did serve the community in some respects, with testing facility and eventually with some of the vaccination outreach, but it did that without heat. We were able to get a grant to improve the existing break room at that site and get it, changed over to a commercial kitchen that did serve meals during that time period. And we're hopeful that we've developed some partnerships that can continue to meet some of those community needs there and offer a wonderful, enhancement to the overall facility. With that said, one of the challenges, as your council is aware, that we brought to you at the beginning of this year, as we've moved forward, we still remain with a severe staffing challenge to be able to fully operate this as a community center. And at that time, we brought forward some provisions there that looking at limiting the use to just the business hours and not opening this facility up into the evening and the weekend use, which we understand is a huge detriment to that space. We know that there's a high community desire to use that space for a number of events that would be in that weekend and evening area. We have the limitation of the restroom facilities, but we do have a grant in place, moving at the speed of the federal government and its allocation of the CDBG loan program, but it is moving forward. So during the provision of this potential lease agreement with the Lake County Arts Council, that limitation of 50 will remain in place until we are able to finish those updates to that restroom. But then once that's complete, we'll get the building official there, get it reassessed based on the restrooms and the capacity size, and that number will go up significantly. But when we brought that forward to you guys in January, that at that point, the Lake County Arts Council did step up and say, hey, we are experiencing some issues with our current building here in Lakeport. We're looking for a new location, and we think that we can help. So that's kind of after that meeting, your council gave direction to staff to move forward with exploring that a little bit more. That's where we're kind of at this period. We also came back and gave a report in August, kind of a 6-month update on it in regards to the staffing piece. So what this agreement is looking to do would be partnering directly with the Lake County Arts Council, and they would be utilizing, there's a total of about 5,000 square feet of floor area in there. They would be using 1,000 square feet of that for their art gallery, and then in return, the remaining, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I think there's 4,000 square feet total. They'd be using 1,000 square feet for the gallery, leaving about approximately 3,000 square feet available for that community use. And in turn for their use of the front area for the gallery, they would take over some of those fundamental operational pieces, doing the walkthrough, doing the scheduling, taking those calls, getting and collecting insurance pieces, being there on the weekend to open the doors and get people in, doing the checkups to make sure that that everything is clean and back in place afterwards, which would in turn allow this space to be open in the evenings, in the weekends, in a much quicker fashion than if we did it on our own. Also, I think another key piece is the Arts Council is very has been very generous in kind of taking the space as it is. Because, I think there are no real physical tenant improvement spaces there. They're being very creative in regards to how they will get that space kind of divided off and get their artwork and pieces in there. That's a significant cost reduction to the city as well in an operational fashion. So this is kind of a little bit of a learning as we go, and I think you'll see that in the structure that we're looking at this as just a 1-year kind of trial lease to see if this is something that will work. But I think, in turn here, yes, there is a $1 a month provision, but what the city is actually getting is this facility open to the wider public in a much quicker fashion than we would certainly be able to do on our own. So just like the other two before, our city goals have had this on it for quite some time with the goal of trying to get this open to the public in a much more wider fashion, and very excited to be bringing this opportunity forward for your council's consideration. And I believe we have members of the Arts Council here as well to answer questions.
I have a question. Well, very nice. Would any of the members of the Arts Council like to come forward and offer information if you like, or just
I am Mike Boyle. I am the curator of the Visions Art Gallery, formerly the Main Street Gallery. I've been in the job for about 6 weeks. The timing is very exciting. We are very aware of our responsibility to the city, and we take that seriously. Just in the short period that we've been in this transition, we've already made a connection with the museums of Lake County for them to have a permanent display in the space. They'll be rotating their historic art out on a regular basis. We have our very strong artists who are joining and are coming back to us. We're booked out till about June or July with featured artists, and we'll be filling in around the edges with that. So I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity. I'm speaking on behalf of the gallery team itself, not the Lake County Arts Council as a whole. We're excited. We're up to the job. We will not let you down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor Costa, council members. I'm Laura McAndrews Samuel. I'm the treasurer of the Lake County Arts Council. I've been on the board of directors for LCAC for 8 or 10 years, something like that. Being a representative, every person on the board has a specialty. Mine, I represent the performing arts. I will say that having the art gallery and just the Arts Council headquarters right here in downtown Lakeport has been really important for us. And I can't think of another way that we could make this happen with the shortage of funding that we have right now. I think this is a great partnership. And I also like the idea of having the Silvera Center and the Carnegie Library sort of on opposite ends of the parks, and having that promenade in between. It just makes so much sense also from an economic development standpoint. So I'm probably telling you things you already know, but I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Okay. Fire away with your.
Oh, my question was, and whoever wants to answer it can answer it. What is your plan, or what is the plan to, for the public? They will see the art gallery go in, which is awesome. But how does the city plan on advertising that there is still space available as a community center, and there's also the art council and the art, I don't know, I don't want to say art people, but, staff that's actually going to be there showing it and letting people know that it's available. I just don't want there to be any gray area, that it's all, I just want it to be clear to the public that it will be available as a community center, as it's also dueling as a art gallery. My other concern just went out the window, and I'm sure it'll come back. But that was just something I was just curious what the plan is on that. How do we plan on advertising both and making sure that it's available for people to know that it's available. My other question is, as far as availability and what your guys' plans are for community engagement with your prime location right there at the park, well, next to the park and to Main Street. Is there, I'm sure you guys have things in the works. I really forgot what I was going to say. I'm excited for the collaboration. I just, that was my concern, is just making sure that it's known as a dual use building.
Can we, yes, get an answer there?
And, we are aware of our responsibility to manage the building. And speaking for the gallery team, we consider that to be the whole package, whether it be advertising, booking, managing the event, making sure that the cleanup is done properly. So, we don't see this as we're just going to go in there and hang pictures on the wall. We've got a business.
Yeah.
Basically, my background as a general contractor for 45 years in Marin County. So I have a little bit of experience in project management. And for outreach, it's actually, at this point, it's kind of taken on its own momentum.
Mm-hmm.
We've grown our email list in 6 weeks by 35 members. Again, we have 12 artists that I think have come back to us. We have a number of new artists, and these are, very, very established artists. Having said that, one of our mission statements is that we view all of our artists as equals. So you can be the most established artist, or you can be a child doing finger painting. You're all on the same level. And if you come in and you do the membership and your work is presented in a professional manner, framed and matted, it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hang in the gallery. You might not hang right away. We will have a space for you. So not only do we have the Museums of Lake County, we're going to have also kind of a module for the theme or the featured artist of the month. One for eclectic art, strong art that doesn't really fit into a theme. And then we've got our emerging and developing artist section where we make sure that we're inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
We want to boost people on their creative journey. That really kind of went off of what you were getting at as far as business management, but
I think we're seeing eye to eye.
Okay.
I can get your vision, and I guess what's going on in my head is I can see the art gallery, and then I could see, maybe a sign or something that says, potentially, you can rent this space or imagine this space as this. And I think just having the bodies there is going to also have a ripple effect and just get people to want to come and check things out. So that's going to be great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Foot traffic has been mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
This is going to be a big boost for foot traffic, we hope, just for community pride for the Main Street merchants. And we're right next to the park as the Carnegie is. And in the summertime, people are going to see this art gallery and want to check it out. And in that process of people getting to know us, we can spread the word about renting the building, what you can do. I'm almost at a loss for words at how excited the whole team is, and we're all pulling in the same direction. And again, not to repeat, but we appreciate this opportunity, and we understand the responsibility that goes with that. And we're just going gangbusters with this thing. 6 weeks, and I'm having a hard time keeping up with people that want to get involved.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have.
It's a very good problem.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you.
Well, you've answered my questions. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So my questions, I think, are for the city manager, probably two separate questions. So though the Arts Council is going to manage the functions and they're going to have their designated space, I am thinking that the city will still have a role in things like signage and other kinds of ongoing developments of the community center itself, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And yeah, kind of tying that together with Councilmember Price's question there as well. I mean, the city would still absolutely be part of, marketing the facility. We're still going to be, reviewing applications and pieces like that, but it's great to have that first point of contact. So we still would be doing, quite a bit of that marketing piece, but it would be good to have the doors where they can go open and somebody can go in there and get an application and ask questions. I mean, so that marketing feature is very exciting to have, someone in that space to answer those questions as people pass those by. I think Kelly can attest to, there's a high demand already for this facility. I mean, we have had to say no to many events, in regards to, being proposed on the weekend or out of hours that we haven't been able to accommodate. So I think that it's going to take on an energy pretty quickly, and which is both scary and exciting. But I don't know if Kelly's got any more to add in regards to kind of management of those spaces and the interaction between the city and this partnership.
Not a ton to add other than there is a stipulation that talks about signage in the agreement. And so therefore that shouldn't be any confusion that it's operating as both for the public, hopefully.
Yeah.
And we will still maintain our website and web pages so that when folks have questions, it might lead to a different phone. Might not be City Hall, might be the Arts Council, but and we recognize also it's a work in progress and that there may be some things that we have to decide on the fly because we didn't anticipate. So it is a bit of an experiment. So we just ask the public for grace and we'll work through those things.
So my second question might actually be more, you might have the answer to it. So in a roundabout, general sort of way, can you give me an estimate of what it costs for a full-time equivalent employee? Do you have that, a number that you can kind of round about? I know you've got all kinds of employees, but if you, let's just say an employee of maybe the parks or a
Like an entry level
utilities, somebody who would be doing the work that is being done by the people that the Arts Council people would be doing.
I mean, I would say price 70 to 80,000 a year.
I mean, including salary and benefits, it's probably
Closer to 100.
Yeah, somewhere in that
maybe.
neighborhood.
So we're gonna have I don't know how many Arts Council people on hand at any given time doing the work that we can't afford to have done because we can't afford to hire that level of staffing. And so it's that level of benefit to the city to have this partnership, it would seem to me. So thank you.
I have a comment or a question. I guess it's a comment.
Well, can we go forward with the question?
Yes,
I
sorry.
I know.
Just let me know when.
No, I appreciate the discussion. Don't forget. So any other questions from council? Okay, and how about comments or questions from the public in the room?
Nothing like coming up here with one shoe on and one shoe off.
Well, we're going to remember you, that's for sure.
Oh, anyway, God, I hate to lose, pardon me, but I have some thoughts. We're looking at 3,500 square feet. Is the art gallery going to be open as part of the public venue, like for seating, for a wedding, for tables, or it's going to be entirely taken up by the Arts Council even during events? So that was one of my questions. And that's not much space for an event. That's the size of a large home. My house is a townhouse and it's 2,600 square feet. Are you going to have any windows added on Main Street so people walking Main Street in evenings from the hotels can look in the lighted windows and see some of the art? What's the architecture going to be for this? And then we're going to have another vacant space on Main Street when the Arts Council moves out. What else do I have? What about changing the name? It could be the Silvera, up the top line, but the Lakeport Lakefront Park Art and Events Center. You got to sell this online to out-of-towners. It's very expensive to have a wedding in the Bay Area. A lot less expensive to have one up here for the florists, the catering, and everything. It's just like, I appreciate what you're saying about the equestrian center, Stacy. I think you need some professional help on naming these spaces. If the city could have someone with event experience man City Hall lobby on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, I don't think that would cost very much. And they could rent these spaces if it doesn't work out with the Arts Council. It's hard to keep volunteers going. We all get older and we run out of steam. I see people walking Main Street at night and stopping at the art gallery and looking in when it's not open. And Friday nights, the first Friday, isn't it called First Friday of the month at the art gallery? I know when I'd be at our Nebraska project, Cliff would say, oh, I'm at the Arts Center and they've got poetry tonight. I didn't like poetry. But it's been a fixture on Main Street for a long time with windows and lighting and what else? And I also wanted to mention to all of you that, hey, we've got a college for an education center. One last word on the Carnegie, Okay, thank you. Bye-bye for tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room have a comment you'd like to make? Okay, how about online?
Before we do, while we've got this map up, I think one of Nancy's questions was in regards to the space, and I think
thank you.
This kind of outlines it a little better than probably how when I spoke about it. But you can see that area outlined in blue is kind of the gallery space, and then the remaining areas there would continue to be utilized as a community center. We've already had several discussions with the Arts Council in regards to the walkway area would need to be maintained and available to the public use. So that's shown there. But it works out to be approximately 1,000 square feet that would be noted for the gallery, and then 3,000 remaining for the kind of traditional community center aspect use.
Thank you. And if I remember correctly from my reading of it, the First Friday Fling is one of the events that are going to continue. And is that event going to be, would it be within the zone of the gallery? Okay. So conceivably, another event could be happening at the same time on the other side of the wall or whatnot. All right, it's not time for comment. It's time so we're done with public comment then? Nobody on?
I'm sorry, I interrupted if there's anybody online.
Yes, we do have a hand raised from Elizabeth Larson.
Thank you.
Okay, Elizabeth, I've asked for you to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I have several questions about this item. First of all, when I was reading through the lease, it says that the tenant will pass, I believe it says pass to the landlord fees and rents, but I am curious, who gets the fees and rents? Who gets the revenue from the use of the building? So that's my first question. Second, hours. What again are the hours of operation going to be? Because currently the Main Street Gallery's hours are extremely limited. And so I'm guessing, is that going to change? And how will they afford that? Through fees or through savings from now not having to pay rent to anybody? My next question is, does the city have experience successfully partnering with another organization to do property management on this scale? My next one is more of a comment. For the purpose of clarity and historical accuracy, the staff report and the record should be corrected to accurately reflect that no RFP process was done here. Down the road, when someone is researching this, they could read that staff report and be misled in thinking an RFP process was used when it wasn't. And I'm referring to page 4 of this item under City Manager/City Council Goal IT-4. Facilitate the revitalization of the Silvera Community Center by completing an RFP process to secure an operator and implementing ADA upgrades to improve restrooms and accessibility. And finally, my last question is more of policy. Is this city policy now to not do RFPs on important city facilities? You've not just done it on this, you've done it with the Carnegie Library. And I raised these questions on the Carnegie 4 years ago when this was first raised about the lack of a transparent RFP process, not just because people are in the room and ask for a property, but a process that allows the community to come forward and would have allowed other organizations to come forward as well. And there are other organizations that I'm aware of that have gone to the city for property that have been turned away or not even brought up in this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Elizabeth put forward a number of questions. It's people most in possession of the information most responsive to her question like to take that on?
Yeah, we can answer a few of those, and we might need some clarification on others. But the first one, in regards to who would get the fees and rents collected, those would go to the city of Lakeport. I don't believe that we have a system set up where we're asking the Arts Council to collect those revenues physically. That would still be a transaction that would need to take place at City Hall. I'm unclear in regards to the hours of operation. Is that in specific to the gallery or the?
I think the gallery,
use of the space?
as she noted that the gallery not open very much. Yeah.
That over to the Arts Council.
Laura McAndrew Samuel once again. The gallery hours right now are, I believe, Tuesday through Saturday from 1 to 5. With the rent savings that we will see, we have every intention of providing more hours for our staff so that we can be more available and more accessible. And we can figure that out. I don't know all of those details. Unfortunately, our executive director is directing a show that opens on Friday night. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think the question of does the city have experience? So there's kind of I think the question includes a belief or an opinion about the level of experience that's required here. And so Elizabeth, it could be that you're saying that this level of experience, does the city have experience with this managing a partnership of this type at this level? And I think that the question it's a little bit subjective in nature, so I don't know quite how that would be responded to. Maybe we could better respond to by talking about any other partnerships that the city has done, if that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, in regards to this specific agreement, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that we have, placed the 1 year context into it, is because I think we've been very forthcoming in regards to that we have not traditionally operated as an event center. I mean, on occasion, we do, put this room here out, but we have not traditionally filled this role. And so I think that's kind of the idea there, is having this 1 year area here. We have some pretty good provisions in here, in regards to what kind of performance standards we need. But as far as have we operated partnerships at a scale similar? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think just this last meeting, we operate a large contract for the provision of our solid waste services. We offer, a number of different kind of services that are outside of our initial expertise level that we have in-house that we provide through those sorts. So I mean, this unique aspect of operating a community center is different. I don't think we have anything quite related to that. But as far as providing general community services, yeah, absolutely, we have a strong track record in providing those services.
Well, I would just add to that, this isn't property management per se. This is managing a calendar and making the space more accessible. And especially right now, the space is not fully usable yet. So this is still, we're still in our modified use of the building. So it's a way to help us start growing that. And we'll be more prepared than when it is fully available to use.
There was a question as to the city's policy in doing or not doing RFPs for a consideration such as this one. I want to just check in and have on record and make sure for my own understanding, did the city approach this situation in a lawful manner?
In a lawful manner?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Was there anything unlawful or untoward about the way this agreement was approached?
In regards to whether or not an RFP is required?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, an RFP is not, would not be a provision that would necessarily is not required to perform this action. I mean, I think everything that we're proposing before you is, is vetted and done in a lawful manner. I mean, I think some of those specifics, Mackenzie can read to. But yeah, for the record, I mean, no, we did not do an RFP proposal for here. I think what is being referred to is the city council or city manager goal that's listed in our current fiscal year does mention the aspect of doing a request for proposal to get started the process of getting this facility started. But I go back to the discussions that we had with council in January, where it became really, really that this was a much larger goal of the council to get this building open, and we had, that partner in there. But no, there was no request for proposal done, but there isn't a requirement that one be done for this provision.
So I think well, I don't want to misspeak on behalf of the city, but I think it would be fair to say that the city still utilizes RFPs. This seemed to be a situation that it didn't necessarily require that. And for the goals outlined already, there was a specific, there was a number of reasons as to why this should proceed. And there was a number of discussions about it happening. So it wasn't done outside of community input or the opportunity for community input. But no, I guess in this specific instance, there was no RFP. Sounds like that was allowable, but the city does continue to have a policy to utilize RFPs when that seems to be appropriate and necessary. Would that be a fair answer?
Yeah, I think kind of to summarize that maybe a little bit more succinctly would be that, that this was a policy decision by council not to pursue that direction. That certainly is an option to do, but it's not a requirement.
Well, keep in mind, we'd be offering a building that's under construction. The bathroom sometimes works. You're going to share it with other people, and you need to manage this calendar and all the walk-ins for the city, not for yourself. I mean, we're just grateful that someone's willing to share this.
So I think that does help to explain why we all saw this as a really good direction to go, and we went in that direction in this manner. And again, I think the 12-month lease speaks to our intention to proceed, see where we're at. We can continue to continue to think, I don't want to say rethink, continue to think forwardly about the way we want to approach the entire situation going forward. So should that be with a change to an agreement? Should that be with an RFP process, et cetera? So it's a good point to bring up. I appreciate it being brought up. It gives us something to think about. And hopefully the information that we provided helps to answer the questions you put forward. Elizabeth, did we answer your questions or did you have follow-up to that?
Elizabeth, I've sent you a request to unmute.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to just to clarify something in my second question about the experience of the city. What I meant was, have you ever done this with another group before? Have you ever had somebody manage a facility or your calendar or whatever? I'm just curious to know about that. And I think you've answered that, but it wasn't meant to be a subjective question. It wasn't about somebody's experience or worth. It was just about, have you done it before? So thank you.
I appreciate that clarification. So, and I think, Kevin, that you did answer that. And I guess I would just kind of add, there's always that first time, right? Let's just see if we can get going and eventually then, you're on your third, your fourth. So it sounds like we've done things that are similar, not exact. And this is a bit new in some of its specifics. And we're excited for this opportunity. Okay, so do we have any more questions online or comments?
I'm not seeing any other hands raised.
All right, with that, I guess we'll bring it back to council for comments or discussion.
My comment, I believe, was just about advertising and getting, if this is something that we are moving forward with, to get some community involvement, make an event about opening the art gallery over there, get some people over there, let's get some eyes on it, give them some food, whatever you have to do, so that they know that the art gallery has moved and that their community center is still available and it's still open and it is alive and it's well. I think that we need to rebrand it and give it some attention in a good way and let that ripple effect just kind of set in.
Well, when I heard the first go around, when the Arts Council lost that and they brought it here, and the Silvera Center and all the problems that it had, I mean, I for one could never believe the HVAC price. I almost fell out of my chair, and I still can't even believe it. But nevertheless, when the Arts Council came here and they said they were willing to run it, I kind of go along with Councilmember Matina. It's like, we're not going anywhere. I mean, anybody that's familiar with our budget and where we stand, there's no money to do anything. And as you astutely pointed out, it would cost $200,000 for two people with employees and salaries and benefits to run something like this. And this is like a beautiful serendipitous situation that, which has a 1-year test. And I can just see, the kids coming down with mom and dad and they go, hey man, go ahead to the skateboard park. We're going to walk over here and we're going to check out the gallery and blah, blah, blah. I can just see this growing. I mean, it's just a test. But to me, it's the best of all options for cities all over the place to have an opportunity like this that have no money. I mean, there's, potholes are going to be showing up. That's how bad things are going to get sometime very soon. So this was just something that was handed to us. And I think this is a golden opportunity. And they sound extremely committed. And if they're doing all the grunt work and we're taking the cash, I mean, it's almost too good to be true, for the opportunity to get the art out there. And I can just see this expanding and growing. And at the end of the year, we're going to say, man, we pulled the trigger on a really good idea. I will say, in retrospect, as Kevin pointed out early on, if someone comes driving up in a car and they want to give it to you, that's one thing. But if they have it parked in the outside and they say, hey man, I'll just give you this car, you can just tow it away, maybe you better look into it. I think Kevin said that it's a bank. It's an operating bank. If all of us knew that it was going to be such a boondoggle, we would say, you know what, we decided we don't want it, but we are committed now. And I think under the circumstances, this is really coming out to be, at least we're starting to see, since we're committed, that we can see some really good benefit here. And now with Clerk, I can just see, Marie Schrader going crazy with this. Oh, here, over here, go here, check out Lakeport. We got all these things to do. And then events coming ad nauseum and people signing up left and right. I think this is a great move. I mean, I just wish that maybe would have said, as soon as you fix the HVAC, we will take it for free. And the ADA bathrooms.
Next time.
Throw that in.
Don't
Next
forget
time.
the bathrooms.
I'll say that I think this is another great example of our small but mighty city being creative to get things done. I mean, we talk with roads and water all the time about, oh, that's a creative solution to get the sidewalk there. But this is a creative way to open up a public facility. Something that I've been begging Kevin for years is let's get a rec program, let's get kids in the facility, let's get it opened. I used to work at a rec facility in Sacramento. It was a community center right next to a park, and I ran summer camps, and it was great. And looking at this, it was like, let's just do what I did in Sacramento. Kevin said you need a couple $100,000 for some staff and benefits, and so it's a creative solution, just like we do time and time again. And yeah, more than happy with the way this came around.
Building on Councilmember Perlette's vision, and then I'd like to add to that, eventually I'd love to see informational signage down by the lake. So as people are walking from one side of the promenade, like Carnegie, all the way down to the community center and enjoying Cabotin Park. And then we're talking about the Tulies, and you can talk about the history and the Pomo heritage. I'd love to see all of that tie in. So we've got so much opportunity and potential, but it takes money, it takes creativity, it takes people with passion and an interest to bring to that. And so I think we are fortunate that we've got people on all these projects that seem to have that kind of passion and interest. I think that it all came together in a very positive manner. There was things that clicked into place. I do appreciate the reminder, the shout out that we should always have in the back of our minds. Is this something that would be better served by an RFP or not an RFP? I'm feeling comfortable with the way this particular project came together for all the reasons already stated. But I do appreciate the reminders always of things that this council and the city team should keep in mind. So with that said, that's the end of my comment. I think it's a great plan. I'm excited to see what happens, and hoping some beautiful things come from the gallery work. I was really happy to hear that you have the background of a general manager, of general contractor. So that should be helpful in putting together your
That
space.
didn't go lost on us.
Yeah, nice. All right, so
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreement with the Lake County Arts Council for the operation of the Lakeport Gallery and coordination of scheduling and event management at the Silvera Community Center, and to authorize the city manager to enter into and execute the agreement.
Second.
you have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. All right, that brings us back up to item A from the Utilities Director, to receive updates on the 2025 Water and Sewer Master Plan.
Yes, Mayor Costa, members of the council, thank you. Very excited tonight to be presenting these two large updates to our master plans for water and sewer. So going a little background, a master plan is a comprehensive long-term strategy for managing a community's water and wastewater resources.
Well, I apologize, Madam Mayor. I do know that this will have some, I probably estimate about 30 minutes or more on the presentation. Wondering if your council wants to entertain a quick 5-minute break before we
Yes,
drop
please.
that.
Well, that'll give me time to read that 700-page. Oh, no. Sure. Thanks.
Sorry, Paul. Sorry.
How's it going, Kenny?
We're ready.
All righty, I'm back with the item. Same enthusiasm and excitement as the first time. So we're going over the master plans for
It's important.
water and sewer. We did put this online for review, so I'm assuming you all went through these before this meeting to offer some feedback. But anyway, to go into it, a master plan is a comprehensive, long-term strategy for managing a community's water and wastewater resources to meet current and future needs. It serves as a roadmap for utilities and asset owners to ensure sustainability by addressing issues like infrastructure, population growth, and climate change through detailed financial, technical, and implementation programs. The last master plans were completed back in 2008. Most of the items identified in those plans have been successfully implemented, utilizing grant funding, loans, and subsequent rate increases. Since nearly exhausting that list, the city felt it was in our best interest to once again invest a long-term strategy with updated plans. In June of 2024, Pace Engineering was contracted to update both of the 2008 plans. This project consisted of the collection of data, multiple site visits, assessing the condition of existing infrastructure, and reviewing the impacts of federal, state, and local regulatory agencies. It also included an evaluation of city ordinances, operations, maintenance, and reporting procedures. This data in turn would provide the recommended list of capital improvements and associated cost estimates, followed by financing strategies to assist the city with both short and long-term facility needs. These plans are intended to project the needs over the next 20 years. Pace Engineering is here tonight to present on both draft versions of the master plan updates. It's intended to provide the council and the community we serve with a comprehensive review of the findings related to our existing utility infrastructure. We encourage any questions at the end of each presentation. We'll start with water and then go into sewer. Copies of the plans are available on the website. We encourage a thorough review and understanding the size of these things. We will be bringing this item back at a future meeting for a final acceptance, likely in February, after review and some feedback before we go in and turn from a draft version into a final version. So with that, I would like to introduce Lori McCollum, Principal Engineer with Pace Engineering. The City of Lakeport has done quite a few projects, partnered with Pace on several projects, one of them being the original master plan from 2008. And Lori was actually on that team back in 2008 on the original master plan. So she was very familiar with this coming on board. Over the past year, meeting on a weekly basis, gathering all kinds of data, analyzing it, working very closely with them. It's been educational, and I think we've produced a very good product. And so I'll leave it to Lori to go into the presentation, and we'll go through each one. Thank you, Lori.
Paul, Madam Mayor, council members, thank you for having me. I think it has been about 15 years or so since I've been in this room, so it's very nice to be back. I'm going to be talking about the draft water master plan updates. These really are updates to demands both on the water and sewer, where the city's at right now, and then projecting forward of growth to see what capital improvements are needed in the immediate term, which would be the next 5 years, and then the near term, which is 5 to 10 years, and then long term, 10 to 20 years. We're going to review the existing system. I'll go through it quickly. Discuss the recommended improvements and review preliminary estimates of cost. I'm sure you all have probably looked at the numbers in there. They are very large. That's your warning if you haven't yet. If we had done this before COVID, they'd probably be about cut in half. So that's the world we live in now. So we'll get into it. The water treatment plant, it's primarily used in the late spring and summer months to supplement the water supply. I'm not going to go through all the details, but it is online several months out of the year, and there are a lot of processes with the water treatment plant. Again, I'm not going to go through all the specifics, but mainly the point of these pictures, this is just the primary processes. There are a lot of others, and so there's a lot of infrastructure there to maintain and upkeep and upgrade. And so with that, there's also the Clear Lake intake and pump station. The intake structure, it had modifications made in 2020 because there's been 2 times that the lake levels have dropped below the intake. And so after that final time in 2020, the city staff actually lowered the intake. The lake pump station has 2 pumps that are each capable of pumping about 900 gallons a minute. There are 4 active wells in the city: Green Ranch East, Green Ranch West, and the 2 Scotts Creek wells, a 4-inch and an 8-inch well. You can see their combined pumping capacity. We won't get into the discussion on the specifics, but the Green Ranch wells are primarily used during the winter months. There's a picture there. And the Scotts Creek wells are mainly used during the summer months. As you can see, the 2 Scotts Creek wells, the water levels can rise, and when that happens, the water can become inundated with it. The groundwater becomes under the influence of surface water, and the regulators don't like that. And so that is why the city primarily only relies on them during the summer months. There's 2 active water storage tanks, the 1 million gallon tank and the 1.5 million gallon tank. And there's also 2 underground storage tanks that they were taken offline when the 1 million gallon tank was constructed, but they are still present in the system. There's just over 40 miles of water mains ranging from 1 to 14 inches in diameter. About 37% of the system consists of really old steel water mains or galvanized iron pipe, estimated to be over 100 years old. And approximately 26% of the piping is less than 4 inches in diameter. There's just about 2,400 water service connections throughout the city and about 307 fire hydrants. That map just shows that the fire hydrant spacing throughout the city is pretty good. You have really good coverage. Water loss is approximately 9%. That's unaccounted for water loss, consumption versus production. And it's really attributed mainly to hydrant flushing, possibly construction meter usage, those sort unmetered water usage, those sort of things. But water loss in the city of this size of 9% is actually really pretty good that we usually see. There's a very sophisticated control system. SCADA is supervisory control and data acquisition. And so the city does have one that was upgraded in 2024. Basically have the latest and greatest. These are several pictures of the different control facilities throughout the system. We did look at projected growth over the next 10 and 20 years, working with city staff of what some developments that are already being discussed or where the areas of development may occur in the future. The future projected growth resulted in about 1.1% annually, so that is what we used. That did include a section of annexing along South Main Street. We'll get into a little more specifics there. Not going to go into the numbers, but we do determine a residential unit equivalent. And what that is for water, it's the average water usage of a single family household. And so that's what we do is we look at basically boil down water demand to the number of RUEs. And all of that comes down to what is your average day and maximum day demand. And do you have enough source capacity to keep up with current and projected demands? Your water supply capacity is about 4.9 MGD, that's million gallons per day. That includes both of the surface water treatment plants online. Surface water treatment plant trains online. Typically only 1 train is used, and we like to look at effective source capacity. That's meaning the largest pump is out of service. And basically these numbers show that your effective supply capacity with your largest pump offline is more than adequate to meet the current and projected 20-year max day demand. So all good stuff there. So for recommended improvements, in the immediate term, so that's the next 5 years, it's recommended that the city develop a new green ranch well, and that is already in the process of being done. City staff has started that. They are going to need to find funds to finish that, but it's in process. I mentioned that the 2 Scotts Creek wells can be under the influence of surface water at times. And so therefore, we're recommending to either abandon those 2 wells or possibly use them in an emergency if the regulators will allow it. And that's if the new Green Ranch well can supply enough water to take those out of service. And the city is also in the process of doing a well assessment for the Green Ranch wells. And so the recommendation in the immediate term is to upgrade the infrastructure based on the results of that assessment. And for the wells, there are no additional near or long-term improvements recommended. Water treatment plant, I'm not going to go through each one of these, but just know that there are quite a bit of recommended upgrades in the immediate term for the surface water treatment plant. And that goes back to the photos of there's a lot of infrastructure there. So several things that require rehab or replacement or upgrade at the treatment plant are recommended in the next 5 years, and then several more in the 5 years after that. Long term, if the new Green Ranch well has adequate capacity, possibly consider phasing out the surface water treatment plant because it is so expensive to run and maintain and operate with all that infrastructure. There's no immediate recommended improvements for the water storage tanks. They both look great. In the near term, there's some maintenance that's recommended on them. And then in the long term, it is recommended to construct another 1 million gallon storage tank in the south part of town. You have more than adequate storage to what you need based on your demands, but there is not storage in the southern parts. So it's very separated from a lot of the rest of the city. So it'd be very beneficial for resiliency and redundancy to put one there. For the distribution system, immediate term, it is recommended to replace about 7,000 feet of the undersized water mains that are past their useful service life, the really old ones. And then we're also recommending that the city construct phase 1 of the loop line project. I believe you guys are probably pretty familiar with it, but that phase 1 would be extend the 12-inch pipe from the city limits down to the theater. But it is anticipated that that's only going to be done if the city can get grant funding for it. So the costs for that are not included in ratepayer costs in these master plans. In the near term, it's recommended to also replace additional water mains, same thing, that are undersized or to loop to improve fire flow. Replace water meters and then construct phase 2 of the loop line project. That would actually loop the 12-inch pipe from Parallel Drive to the intersection of South Main Street and Soda Bay Road. And then in the long term, similarly recommending paralleling or replacing additional water mains. It's going to improve a lot of fire flows and boost the water supply across the city. And construct a final phase of the loop project that would extend the 12-inch pipe from the theater down to Mannings Creek. Costs, what all this boils down to, this is kind of just a recap of the wells, the surface water treatment plant, the pipeline, all the immediately recommended improvements in the next 5 years, total about $13.7 million. Near-term recommended improvements, again, just totaling for the entire water system is just over $13 million. And long-term is a little bit under $20 million. So total improvements over the next 20 years, about 45.7 million. So grants. If no grant funding is obtained and the city were to fund all of these improvements just with ratepayer funds, an approximate monthly increase to all ratepayers of about $56 per RUE would be required. But of course, the city wants to look for grant funding. And so we looked into that. The city, good or bad, depending on how you look at it, is currently classified by the state as a severely disadvantaged community, which in years past would make them eligible for 100% grant funding for all needed projects. However, the state got a reduced allocation of grant funding this last year and probably will for the next several years, foreseeable future anyways. And so they're currently only funding water systems that are classified by the regulator as failing or at risk of failing. Fortunately, you guys are not. Unfortunately, that means you are not eligible for 100% grant funding right now, unless the project were to include consolidation. The state, the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, is the biggest grant funding program that's out there, has the maximum grant amount you can get. They do provide zero interest loans that are repayable over 40 years, depending on what your rates are at, your water rates. And they also have low interest loans if your water rates aren't low enough. So we did, there's also additional grant funding. I heard CDBG mentioned before, Community Development Block Grant funding. If you have shovel-ready projects, they are always having notice of funding availabilities out there. There's a lot of numbers on this slide. I'm not going to expect you to read them all, but we went through a scenario of if the city were to fund all immediate and near-term recommended improvements, what does that kind of look like? And so in one scenario, if you get 0% grant and 100% loan from the state, it would equate to an approximate monthly cost per RUE of about $27. We did look at, there's USDA rural development loans. That is also a very large grant program for water utilities. They unfortunately do not provide nearly as much grant funding as the state. So we looked at about a 20% grant for rural development. But unfortunately, because their interest rates are higher, you're actually not in as good a shape. Your monthly cost per RUE would have to be larger. So you'd be better off going with an SRF loan as opposed to a rural development grant. So the recommendations from the water master plan would be to consider the draft master plan update, and if in agreement, formally adopt it as final. Separate from that, complete a water rate study that would look at funding what recommended improvements are included herein in addition to determining additional water rate increases that are needed, and update this master plan every 10 years or more frequently if significant growth occurs beyond the 1.1% that was utilized herein. I think that's it for the water. Any questions on the water? There's a lot that I know I really rambled through, but I don't want to bore you guys with the details at this time of night. So I can definitely answer any questions you might have.
Okay, well, does council have questions on that part of the presentation?
I have a couple, if you don't mind. One of the earlier slides, it showed growth of 1.1% if annexation is successful and 0.9% without.
Correct.
Is that what you would see from other cities as far as increased residents and growth in a city, or is that considered low?
That's a loaded question. It really depends on where you're at. We kind of see it all the way across the map because we do this for a lot of different agencies, some that are much more remote and rural than you guys even are. And so their growth rate, it might be negative or 0.5 because they want to assume something so that they can project forward. But in reality, they have seen negative growth in the last 10, 20 years. Some are right off of I-5 and not too far north of Sacramento. And so theirs is closer to 4 or 5%. Because they are seeing a lot more. So it kind of varies across the map, but the 4.5 is actually pretty high.
Yeah, so I mean, 1%, 1.1, 0.9 isn't too far off from like a 4. I didn't know if you were seeing some cities that needed like 40% or something crazy. So does that also would show that we are just have a healthy capacity for our water?
Yes.
Which is a good sign.
I would agree.
Okay. Next question, and probably my last one for the water so far is the near and long-term costs that you put down. Did that, I mean, before your presentation, you mentioned that costs since 2020 have doubled. Does that take that into consideration at all?
It does not include inflation.
Okay, so that's like today's cost, even though we're projecting for long-term projects.
Correct.
So those could
Will go up.
double, triple. Okay.
Anybody's
Not good
guess
news. Yeah.
in 20 years from now, yes, but yep, absolutely.
Okay, that was it for my questions on water so far. Thank you.
Other questions from council? Should we go through the whole process? We should probably open it up to public.
I think it makes sense to open it to public, specific to water.
Wilda?
Any, yeah.
That's a great idea.
Anyone in the room? Anybody online?
Okay, no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, so we'll bring it back for the second half.
Can I get that pulled up? Sorry, Victor. Made you do extra work.
No problem. So this was super.
Green.
Yeah.
Love the color coding.
Come on.
Okay, try it now.
Okay, we're in. We're gonna go through the same exact format here. So the existing wastewater system, the collection system has about 160,000 feet of sewer mains, about 570 manholes. Most of the pipelines are 4 to 10 inch collector mains. Some of it, about 15,000 feet, are larger 12 to 24 inch interceptor mains. Some of the mains are up to 80 years old and consist of clay pipe with cement mortar joints. So they do crack, they do break, they do leak. There are a couple of small sections of old Orangeburg pipe left in the system, which is very, very old. Infiltration and inflow refers to how much the flows at the wastewater treatment plant increase during the peak wet weather months. Rainfall, lake levels really correlate with that. When the lake levels rise, you get increased groundwater, elevated groundwater. If there are cracks in the pipes, the groundwater flows directly into the pipes and directly to the wastewater treatment plant. So when you hear me use the term I&I a little bit later, that's referring to that infiltration and inflow. There are a total of 9 lift stations in the city system. That does include the Lake County Sanitation District lift station number 1 that's actually operated by Lake County, but it discharges into the city wastewater system. And it also includes Lakeshore Boulevard lift station, which is owned by the city, but it discharges to Lake County Sanitation District. They all have adequate capacity for the 20-year outlook in growth, which is good, with the exception of Lakeshore Boulevard lift station. So we are recommending pumps be upsized there. But they all have permanent or designated backup generators. They all have flow meters, and they all have a spare pump at each of the lift stations. So all very good news. Most cities do not have most of those things. So kudos to the city there. The wastewater treatment plant primarily treats domestic wastewater. It discharges disinfected secondary effluent to an effluent storage reservoir, an irrigation pump station, and then eventually irrigation fields. Again, I'm not going to go through each one of these for the sake of time, but another point of just showing these are the major processes at the wastewater treatment plant. There's a lot of infrastructure there that also needs to be maintained and upgraded when those pieces of equipment reach their useful service life. And these aren't even all of them, it's just the major ones. Like the water system, the SCADA, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System, was upgraded in 2024 for the wastewater as well. And so there's the latest and greatest. The brains of the wastewater treatment plant is shown in that picture at the lower left. And the picture on the right is showing a SCADA screen that the city uses to monitor the wastewater treatment plant and lift stations. We also projected growth on the sewer side. An RUE is different on the sewer than it is the water because an RUE is defined as the average dry weather flow that's generated from a single family residential dwelling. But it's the same projected growth because the same projected developments that are on the water side are on the sewer. So it's still the 1.1% growth rate, but it equates to different numbers of RUs. I won't go through the specifics, but that is why the numbers are different there. But ultimately, that all boils down to projecting what the influent average dry weather flow at the treatment plant is going to be in the next 20 years. And that's what all of those numbers go into. You will see, I want to point out, there's an asterisk there. The second line, the influent peak wet weather flow in the next 20 years is projected to be a little bit over 3 million gallons per day at the treatment plant. And I will get into why there's an asterisk there momentarily. Your capacity at the wastewater treatment plant for average dry weather flow right now is 0.53 million gallons per day. The current influent average dry weather flow is about 68% of that capacity. And at a 1.1% projected growth rate, you do have adequate average dry weather capacity at the treatment plant for the next 20 years projected. Yes. It's a good thing.
Dry weather.
However, the asterisk. Peak wet weather flow capacity is currently, the design capacity is 3 million gallons per day. The current influent peak wet weather flow is about 77% of that capacity. But the 20-year capacity will not be adequate because it is projected to be over the 3 million gallons per day in the next 20 years, unless a significant I&I program is not continued. The city has already started one and is doing a good job trying to maintain it, but definitely need to make sure that they keep that up over the next 20 years, or you will be over the peak wet weather flow capacity. Recommended improvements. On the collection system side, TVing of the system resulted in about 44,000 feet of 6-inch and larger collection system mains were videoed. Of that, just about 6,000 feet of pipelines are recommended to be either completely replaced or lined the interior of the pipes. And then there were 53 spot repairs that were identified, whether there's a break in the pipe or a significant offset joint that could allow leakage of the pipe, something of that nature. An I&I reduction program is recommended. It's imperative that the city continues to invest in the I&I reduction program. Important thing to note here is that the Environmental Protection Agency study has correlated that sewer rehab projects remove I&I only at about 30% if the mains are targeted only. And so what's key there is the laterals from the mains to the houses also need to be improved and upgraded, not just the mains, or you're only going to reduce about 30% of I&I. And we're also recommending that SCADA hardware and software upgrades be made, the collection system. The lift station immediate term recommended improvements are to add bypass connections to all lift stations so they can bypass pump if needed. And then at Lariku Lift Station, it's recommended to add a chlorination system. And then at Linda Lane, add a dechlorination system within the next 5 years. That's because the pipeline between those two lift stations is having issues with sulfur, and it's degrading the manholes. And so the city, if they can add chlorine, it will help that issue and minimize that degradation that is happening in there. And in the near term, so next 5 to 10 years, it's recommended that the Lakeshore Lift Station pumps be upsized to keep up with projected growth. The wastewater treatment plan, again, I'm not going to go through every one of these, but there are several improvements that are recommended in the next 5 years. Most of those are to improve operational control at the treatment plant. The most significant of all those is to upgrade the headworks mechanical screen, but otherwise a lot of things look really good through the next 5 years. The next 5 to 10 years, again, there's a couple more operational related improvements that are recommended. Long term, depending on how the I&I is and the peak wet weather flow at the wastewater treatment plant, the city may or may not need to parallel the chlorine contact pipe. If peak wet weather flows do get too high, then they will need to expand that. But if it can stay down, they might not need to. And a big project there in the long term is to rehabilitate the aeration basin. The side slopes on it are starting to degrade and fall in on each other. We think they'll be able to last beyond the next 10 years. So we have recommended that in the next 10 to 20-year period. And also to remove the sludge from the aeration basin when that project comes to fruition. Again, future preliminary estimates of cost, adding up all for the entire wastewater system. The immediate recommended improvements in the next 5 years total about $14 million of recommended improvements. The near term is just under $5 million in recommended improvements. And the long term, and the bulk of this large number, is because of the aeration basin project that's going to be very large, is about $37.7 million projected. So total on the sewer side is about $56 million projected in the next 20 years. Grant funding climate's really similar to the water side. If no grant funding is obtained for any of the improvements that are recommended in the next 20 years, it would result in a monthly increase to ratepayers of about $84 per RUE. But again, the city is going to be active in trying to find grant funds. They would have in years past qualified for 100% grant from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. But unfortunately, they've had to cut on that program too. So they are still funding 100% grants, but it has to be a septic to sewer project, a consolidation project, or a project that specifically addresses discharge violations at the wastewater treatment plant, which again, fortunately, you guys don't have any. Unfortunately, that means you don't currently qualify for any of the, for 100% of the Clean Water State Revolving Fund grant. They do have a reduced allocation for secondary priority projects that is up to 50% grant funding right now. And that's up to $25 million in any 5-year period. And they also have low interest loans as well. And similarly, there is additional grant funding available for shovel-ready projects. Again, I'm not going to go through all these numbers, but we did look at funding scenarios similar to the water side. If the city were to fund immediate and near-term recommended improvements, if it were to be 100% low-interest loan from the state, no grant funding, it would result in a monthly cost per sewer RUE of about $22. If you got a rural development 20% grant, it would result in a monthly cost per RUE of about $26 because that interest rate is higher than the state in this scenario as well. If you were able to get a 50% grant from the state, which is the best case scenario of all of these, the monthly cost per RUE would be about $8. So much more palatable. So recommendations for this are the same as the water. Consider the draft 2025 sewer master plan update, and if in agreement, formally adopt it as final. Also complete a separate sewer rate study that looks at what sewer rate increases are needed in addition to funding what improvements the city wants to improve that are recommended herein. And update the sewer master plan every 10 years or more frequently if growth's quicker than projected. That is it.
Thank you for that clear presentation. Do we have questions from council?
I think, can we just get a violation real quick and then,
right?
Or be near failing.
Yeah, I
On the
feel
water
like
side?
we're failing.
Yeah. Because you feel like a failure to actually you are.
Makes that determination.
We're subjectively think.
So according to the statistics, there's like 160,000 feet of main sewer lines. And if you took care of eye on that, you said that would return a 30% reduction. Now, does that mean that asterisk number which was over the 3 million, 30%, because we're looking, what was it, 287 and 294 and then 3.03 with the asterisk that we were over that. The 30%, and this is over, that was only for 20 years.
Right.
And up until then, we were fine. So, but the pipe is 100 years old. So I imagine that Paul's thinking, well, yeah, got to sleeve all. I mean, this isn't like going in and fixing a crack. This is like 160,000 feet of inner lining or something like that, which, you know, when you talk about sewer projects, oh, we're putting in this, we're putting in a pond, we're doing that. But we're talking about just I&I, that in itself, putting in sleeves and that many feet. I mean, 160,000, that's like 30 miles or whatever it is, 35 miles. That's a lot of sleeving. And that in and of itself, just doing the I&I, but that would get us way below what we needed to do if we just did that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we are recommending that, because there are areas from the 2008 study that have much higher I&I than other areas of the city. And so if the city tackled those highest areas, not all of it, so not all the 160, but just those highest, even that would get you where you need.
Yeah, if you've identified the ones that are the high risk, that, because we're only slightly over for the 20 years.
Exactly.
And so that would be, well, obviously, I'm sure they're all over that. But I know that the first time I heard about I&I think I just got on the board like 13 years ago, and it was like, oh, wow, this is cool. And then they got smoke and all this other stuff. But if the mains can do 30% is not all of it, but that's a bunch when you're only barely over, you know, the rainy season watering. So at least that's hopeful, and it is 20 years away, and Kevin will be just into his 50s by then.
You'll be here with me.
Still hitting age.
Yeah.
I've got, while we're talking I&I, I've got a couple questions I&I related. First, you said that the groundwater kind of swells near the lake and that can contribute. So would you think that that is where we should start our I&I focus, is all of the stuff near the lake? Or I'm sure in the plan there's other locations that have a higher priority?
Yeah, there's a map in there that indicates where the areas are. Some of them are close to the lake, but I actually don't think it's right along there. I haven't looked at that plate in a while, but it's actually to the north, I think, is where a lot of the higher ones are. So we have identified what specific areas do have the most.
And then with that, if there is the inflow from the resident side, is that a resident violation and repair, or does the city repair it because it affects our system? How does that work?
It is, so the ownership from the clean out to the resident's house is the responsibility of the owner.
Okay.
But somebody needs to prove that there's a problem with it to then force them to go fix it also. So that part is somewhat on the city's side to show that there's an issue, but the city does already have a lot of language in the ordinance, and Paul can probably speak to this a little bit more, but that does give the city that ability to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking at it at a more in-depth focus on the customer laterals, because I know when a rainstorm occurs, it's instant. So it's coming from gutters, it's coming from customers' laterals. So that's why we started the smoke testing. And so we've done a couple rounds of that. That's really going to be a helpful tool to identify those problem areas. And then the city would then go in and start citing for violations and making the customer make those repairs, disconnecting the gutters from the sewer. And there's other avenues to pursue, and that's that we could have routine lateral inspections, maybe at the sale of a property. We, have them checked out and certified, different things like that in the long term. But that's where the smoke testing is really going to come into play. And I think we'll see a huge reduction if we're successful with identifying those. Because like I said, during an event, it can be dry and next week, if we get a 2-inch rainstorm coming in, it's almost instant, and the water table's not high yet. And the cracks that might be in the sewer mains letting that in, it hasn't reached there yet. It's like there. And then
So it's downspouts.
Yeah,
that kind of
and
stuff.
so we have to find those out. And like Lori was saying, we have tools in the toolbox for addressing that, but it's finding it first.
Yeah.
And so that's where smoke testing is really going to be a big helpful factor.
Great. And it makes sense. I mean, like Councilmember Parlet was saying, is with a 30% reduction just by going after the INI, it makes sense to do that rather than increase the size of our pond because that's way more expensive and doesn't get to the root problem. One other question is, I can't help but notice that I didn't see, and I know it's outrageously expensive, but there was no long-term plan for a tertiary treatment of our wastewater. Is that just completely out of the question?
I don't believe so, but the city, I think, is looking at updating the recycled water study, feasibility study that was done
Yeah.
quite a long time ago.
And I know, Paul, we've talked about this a little bit.
Yeah, in 2009, we do have a plan, and I do have money in the budget to update that, but we're trying to knock out a few things. So it is in the plan to definitely look at and pursue if
Okay.
possible.
Still on our radar.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay.
Is separate from this effort.
It's on the list with the pool.
Yeah. If I can get tertiary treatment and they could probably go hand in hand, actually. Okay, that was it for my question. Thank you.
Other questions from council?
I was very impressed.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have a quick question asking for Lauren's crystal ball here. In regards to looking at both the water and the sewer, you're talking about, the state's reduced grant allocations, on what their grant funding versus what's available for loan funding. Do you see that go up and down with budget cycles, or is there kind of a longer term trend of them just keep reducing and reducing that?
Goes up and down.
Okay, so there may be hope that some of those grant people.
Water and sewer propositions, if
Gotcha.
there's another big one, it will go back up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Victor, do you have a long queue of people online geared up?
Jeez, we got a long list. A long list, but no hands raised.
Oh. Hello. And there's no one in the room unless Wilda, you had a question or a comment. Great. Okay. Just wait till you dig into that printed material. It was really a very clear presentation. I think you did an excellent job in hitting all of the important points, putting it out there very clearly, and just moved through very smoothly so that in a way that people like us could just, I don't mean to lump y'all in the same thing, but like lay people can just like get it and understand the importance of what you're talking about. So I really appreciate that. Okay, well, with
Thanks, Lori.
that, then that was just a presentation for the evening, correct? Thank you.
Well, if everyone was still in the room when we gave that, they would understand why their water and sewer rates were going up soon.
Yeah.
They would have got a free view.
Don't freak me. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're on to City Council communications, and we will start with the Community Development Director, Joey Henowitz.
I have nothing to report this evening.
Okay, Chief of Police, Dale Stobie.
Yes, I will try not to take as long as Paul Harris did.
Go ahead, regale us.
Just wanted to report out that last week, the city manager, Ron Ladd, and I met with a founder and developer of an off-grid camera system that uses artificial intelligence to enhance automated license plate reading and live streaming and recording dual functions. And after that presentation, we checked out some areas of town to potentially engage with them in a trial use of 12 of their cameras. And right now, I guess the city manager has the proposal and is reviewing that for potential consideration. So we may be implementing that and kind of evaluating their system and how well it works for our needs, and potentially move forward from there.
Nifty.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And Finance Director, Danielle Dizon. All right. Thank you. And Utilities Director Paul Harris.
No, thank you.
Okay. Administrative Services Director Kelly Buendia.
Just to, a reminder that the employee appreciation holiday party's coming up. Dates and times are in the management notes, so, hopefully you all can make it down.
Awesome. Public Works Director Ron Ladd.
Thank you, Mayor Costa. I would just like to say, thank everybody that put the Dickens Fair together and all the decorations for downtown. I received quite a bit of feedback being at the events and since, and great compliments and kudos to everyone that had a part in that.
Nice. And Planner Extraordinaire, Planning Services Manager Victor.
That sounds awesome, but no items to report on my end.
Okay, Assistant City Attorney Mackenzie Anderson.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Kevin Ingram.
Just kind of continuing on Ron's thing there, a huge appreciation to the Public Works team and other members of city staff that helped out with the decoration of town. I think for the events, it looked incredible, but I just think just overall, Christmas spirit's very much alive and well in Lakeport. It looks great going down Main Street, all the park areas. We were happy for the expanded partnership this year with Lake County Public Services, Lars Ewing's team over there, and expanding and making the museum square right there downtown, enhancing that. So very excited to see that. Every time I get to go home in the dark, it looks really nice out there. And a big shout out to Public Works for putting that together, and our community folks for two very wonderful events. The weather was very cooperative, and there were a lot of people out. I did not get to attend the tree lighting ceremony last year, but this year was fantastic. Dickens always does a wonderful job with their street fair there, so it was great to see all those pieces come together.
Nice. Councilmember Matina.
Well, yeah, the events were amazing. The staff knocked it out of the park. They just kind of made it their own and kept going. But my kids were home for the holiday. My son went out and about and he came home and he said, "Wow, Mom, the city looks so great. It's so festive." So that was really cute. We participated in the dog parade at the Dickens Festival. There were a lot of dogs down there. And the light parade on the lake was amazing. The crowd down there was gigantic. And the tree lighting and the snow and the s'mores were delicious. So great job to everyone. I think people really had a great time.
2 years in a row, it's becoming a tradition already.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
Councilmember Disney.
Oh,
Pro Tem.
wait, and Councilmember Disney emceed the event, and he did such a great job. People kept coming up to me saying he did such a good job. So
And he had to eat time because Santa was running behind, so he was.
he
It took forever.
he was a little late.
Yeah, there were people coming up and asking if I can sing while we wait, and that would have drove the crowds away immediately. So it was a great event. I think from the stage, looking out, there had to have been 1,000, 1,500 people. It felt packed, which was such an awesome event, and I think it'll continue to grow year after year. So really the biggest shout outs to Public Works. I saw a lot of police staff out there and everybody that helped that
And
event.
Kiwanis completely sold out.
Yeah. What a good
Snack Shack.
new tradition that we have.
Yes.
Little change of tone. My other report is last week I had the Clean Water Program meeting. That's multi-jurisdictional, the county, the city of Clear Lake, city of Lakeport. They have a stormwater resources plan that will be coming before the city council here to hopefully approve. It's just like some of the other plans that come before us. It sets up grant funding and it shows that we have our ducks in a row. So keep your eye out for that. I didn't report last time we had Clean Water Program that our very own Jen Baker is the vice chair of that committee. We nominated her a couple meetings ago. And the other thing was just that next Thursday is the LCRA, the Recreation Agency. So excited to share with them the partnership with the Arts Council for the community center and have that space open for recreation as well as events. And happy holidays. That's it for my report.
Very cool. Councilmember Parlett.
Nothing to report.
Oh, Councilmember Price.
Saving it.
I wasn't ready for that. I was like, okay, I have a few more minutes to like get my mind right. Yes, Dickens was great. Main Street looks awesome. Everything looks good. If you have a chance, try to shop local. Try to make your stops into the little shops, grab a bite to eat. It all adds up. With all the trees lined downtown, I think it's a draw. So I hope that some of the businesses stay open a little bit later and we all get festive. I know it's hard for everybody to, extend yourselves, but sometimes just being a nice person is a gift in itself. So be nice to each other, treat each other nicely, and be good to yourself. That's all I have to say.
Right. Those are wonderful words to end on. I have no report.
All right. Wow. We have to adjourn it official.
Meeting adjourned.